Okay. I'm in the old studio. Okay. I'm in the studio, and I look at the sea, which I see through the window. In the glass, there's the reflection of you, your back as you paint a canvas. It's a bit like that veneer. The window's reflecting you, but we see through you to the sea. So you're, yes, ghostly. The pictures of you through the window then, but also through the reflection of you painting. I'm there too. I'm not painting. I'm just staring out to here, to the cliff top and the sea. Nearish in, there's a place in the sea, and that's light, empty. Mike! Mike! Are you hearing? Mike, for God's sake, contact me!
Eileen O'Brien as Jean, in a play by Stephen Mallatrat. Still life painting.
She's out there again.
She looks like a painting herself.
My God, it's a Bergman film.
Or Streep in French Lieutenant's Woman. Where's her kid?
Her kid is school age.
It's Saturday.
Beachcombing? Do you suppose at the moment she first looked down, do you suppose when she saw him, she knew it was him?
It's a hell of a long drop.
Ah, would she know him by some commonplace item of clothing, thrown into ghastly significance? A scarlet tie that snaked from his throat like lifeblood. The tie she'd knitted on the very needles he'd carved for their betrothal.
You're a disgrace.
What was his name again?
Groucho.
God, yes. That headland to be known to posterity as Crouch's Leap.
Do you want another?
They're watching me. Strange that other people own the house now. Strange to see them in the studio. Our studio. I'm going to need it. Swore I'd never go back, Mike, didn't I? But if I'm doing this picture, I'm going to have to. If they let me. Emmy'll be pleased anyway. She's out riding this morning. You said I'd never paint alone. Why? Didn't you want me to? Of course you did, Mike. Of course you did. Just because we worked together didn't mean we couldn't work alone. You said, you always said.
Don't do it!
What?
I said don't do it! Oh, God. Oh, God, I'm sorry. Oh, look, that's appalling. How tactless can you get?
Don't worry. What are you doing creeping along up here?
Well, you know, creeping along.
I'm used to seeing you in the library. You look out of place here.
Well, since redundancy, I'm out of place everywhere.
Oh, no.
Afraid so.
You mean you won't be there to stamp my book?
Alas.
Well, I'm sorry. I think it's a shame.
I saw your Emmy on a pony.
She'll be wanting one of her own next. Do you have kids?
God, no. Well, don't have anything. Garden, spin dryer, hell of a responsibility. This used to be your land here, didn't it?
Well, this stretch, the cliff top, is common. Ours, theirs, starts beyond the path. They were looking out of the studio window just now.
What made you sell?
I couldn't stay on after Mike died. There's a lot of him in that house.
I suppose so.
And out here, actually. Do you feel it?
Well, no, but...
Whoops, look out, Jeannie. Here we go.
No, I mean, it's understandable. Well, you're bound to feel that, you know? They had a lot of presence, power. Remarkable man.
I know.
Sort of public property, wasn't he? Everybody knew him.
Yes.
Nobody knew you.
No?
A lot of people wanted to, mind. No, that's true.
I want to use the studio again. I wonder if they'll let me.
Thought you wanted to get away from it.
I need it. There's a painting I've got to do. You mind if I walk back with you?
I'd be delighted.
I mean, there's things like the video and the CD, but it doesn't matter about them. They're insured. And I hate anything I'd like to go. But as soon as it gets about that we're only here at weekends, anything could happen, Martin. I mean, these country people, you know, some of them are pretty weird. Straw Dogs has nothing on it.
Thank you.
And the milkman, he knows to deliver only at weekends. Can one trust milkman?
The eternal debate. I trust him with my video, but would I trust him with my wife?
Ho ho, a dentist joke. And imagine arriving for a peaceful weekend. Imagine inviting people and the place was turned over.
What do you suggest, Annette, her caretaker?
Oh, God.
Or should I give up the practice?
Oh, yes, give it up. Coffee too strong?
Perfect. My practice, of course, being of small consequence alongside your high-powered and desperately exciting career.
Please, Martin, don't. I want to discuss it, that's all. It worries me.
You knew all that when we bought the place.
I know. It still worries me.
I'll go to the estate agents Monday. He can put it back on the market.
Oh, can't we even discuss it?
What is there to discuss? You don't like it being empty. During the week, it has to be empty. We put it back on the market.
Do you like this house?
Since when have my feelings been of consequence?
Do you or do you not wish to keep this house?
Yes, I wish to keep it.
Then shut up about estate agents.
I thought I was being constructive.
That studio would make someone a marvellous bedsit.
Much as you left it, no? You'll need beds, of course.
No. We'll stick a mattress down. Can share a mattress, can't we, Emmy?
Yeah.
Memories? This is where he did his painting, your husband.
We work together. You don't realise how good a place is till you've left, do you? Perfect studio. That hook's where he kept the herring gull, Emmy.
Yeah.
Ah, no kicking walls.
Emmy. It was a first-year herring gull. Poor wretched thing. Had a damaged wing. Mike found it and brought it back. Kept it tethered by a piece of cable to that hook there. Long after it had got better. It used to pull on that tether as if to rip its leg off. Kept on pecking. And half the time would miss and stab its foot. You'd hear it night time through the walls, stabbing away in the dark. Terrifying.
Wasn't that rather cruel?
Terrifying.
Wasn't it?
Hmm?
I was wondering if it wasn't rather cruel.
Yes, it was.
Did you let it go?
In the end, he wanted to tame it. No way, it was so fierce. Fiercest creature I've ever known.
Didn't frighten me.
Beads for eyes and a beak like cold black steel.
Orange for you, Emmy, and help yourself to biscuits. Jean,
Thanks.
yours is there, Martin. I hope that's as you like it.
Yeah, I think so. Don't often drink gin.
Oh, to be able to say that oneself. Yes, this room is a problem for us, I don't mind saying. I can see it must have been marvellous for your husband. The artist's studio, so light and spacious.
You should have let it go. Just let it go.
But not being artistic, it's hard to imagine a use for it.
I might take up photography and use it as a dark room.
Foul thing it was.
Did Mike survive as an artist, or did he work as well?
Oh no, we only painted.
You made a living then? Well, obviously. I think we'd assumed, Annette, didn't we, that it was more of a hobby, both of you.
Hobby. Life and death it was.
Sorry. You don't mind,
Talking about him. No, fine.
I'm sure that's best.
yes.
Do take a biscuit, Emmy. Won't it be strange for you, living in a room that was so intensely his?
Mine too. We work together.
Ah, yes.
It won't be strange, will it, Emmy?
Be better than the cottage.
Emmy doesn't like the cottage.
Why don't you like your cottage, Emmy?
It's too pretty.
It can't be too pretty.
How do you know?
No, it can't be too pretty. Nowhere's too pretty.
It really is a remarkable view. Straight over the headland. Is it true there's wild horses?
No, they're all owned by someone. It's mostly common. Free grazing, you see.
Very sensible.
There are wild ones, you just never see them.
Then how do you know?
Quite.
I've seen them.
You just said you didn't.
I said you don't see them. They don't come down this way.
Why not?
Would you if you were wild?
She has a point.
What do they look like? Purest white, with white flowing manes warmed to gold by the dawning sun.
They're squat, fat and blotchy, and the big one's lost an eye.
Now, there's just this ring in here now, Jean. Do you think you'll manage with it?
Oh, it does fine.
And that's only weekends, of course. During the week, you have absolute run of the kitchen. In fact, the house, as if it was yours. As if it was still yours.
Thanks. Thanks, I said. Thanks ever so much. As if it was them I should thank. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, darling.
We can assume they had money. Independent means. Artists don't make the sort of money this place needs.
Daddy was rich, do you suppose?
Who's Daddy?
His? She doesn't seem moneyed somehow.
What time do you start tomorrow?
Early. Hey ho.
What?
Another week without.
Without what?
Well, you, I suppose.
Get yourself a new receptionist.
Thanks.
Mike, something that worries me. Sometimes I'd feel bad about asking for things. I mean, things for myself, to have time for myself. It was my guilt, of course. Like you said, we're brought up with guilt in that faith. But sometimes I confused my guilt with you because I felt bad asking from you. I'd feel sometimes you didn't want to give. And I know that wasn't true. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that. Can you forgive me?
That woman's a desperate creature. Her eggs were so emphatically in the one basket, dependency absolute. Not only financial, but emotional too. And suddenly, he's gone. All means of support gone. Well, I suppose she's comfortable, but, well, she must be. She sold this place for enough. Well, there she is, stranded with her weird kid.
Relict.
And now she's back already, unable to cut the cord. I mean, thank God for her, it's eased my mind, but what's she doing? Building some sort of shrine? What's this painting she must do?
Purging the memory?
I suspect.
I suspect she's wanting to take over where he jumped off, creatively speaking.
Poor cow. What I value about our relationship, Martin, is the freedom we allow each other.
That's what you value.
I mean, there's no way, should you drop dead, well, it sounds callous, I know, but that I'd suffer what she's going through. I mean, and been going through for months. This clutching despair. I have far too many interests.
Quite.
Well, it's true. And so have you. It wouldn't be in my nature or power to mourn obsessively.
Good for you.
Oh, well. Bedtime. It's better.
What are you up to this week?
Oh, very dull. Going round the branches with John Cox.
John Cox. And does he?
Does he what?
Doesn't matter.
Oh, a dentist's joke. Ha ha.
They're gone, Mum, they're gone.
Well, hey! Yeah, I hope you've not been snooping.
They've left a note. Monday, crack of dawn and we've dashed off. No rest for we wicked. Have a lovely week and help yourself to absolutely anything. The house is yours. Again. Annette. P.S. In emergency, Martin's number's on the pad by the phone. They're ever so clean.
Clean?
Everywhere's clean, not like it used to be.
Probably because you don't live here now.
Thanks. If I don't come straight home, will you be cross?
Where are you going?
Dunno. Killing jellyfish.
Well, don't be after 5, I'll worry.
Bye.
Bye, love. Now. Oh, perfect. So, I'm here, studio. I look out at the sea. Calm sea, mist. Through the glass, and yet in the glass itself, reflected, there's... Oh my God! Oh God! Oh Mike! For a moment I thought, oh, what the hell did I see? I thought I saw you reflected in... God, don't do that. In the glass, there's the reflection of you. Your back, as you paint a canvas. The window reflects you. We see through you to the sea. The word is ghostly. And then there's me, not painting, staring out at the cliff top and the sea. Already it's changing though. I can't have that daft place in the sea. The sea's implacable, commonplace. And the sky is more, deeper, infinite. Yes. But where are you? I can't find you. The sea or the sky? Where are you now?
You don't waste any time.
What?
It was only Saturday you were saying you wanted to get back here. 2 days later you're in.
1 day. We moved back yesterday.
I'd heard.
Who told you?
You transferred your milk.
Impossible, isn't it?
So you're renting,
No, they're worried about burglars or vandals.
aren't you?
No,
Quite right.
just came out for a break. Saw you walking along.
Yep, that's me.
I'm not asking you in there, Bob. I'm working.
Oh, that's fine. I don't want to shatter the muse or whatever it is you artists have. I'm just walking.
What a nice life.
Now, there is something to be said for redundancy. Not a lot, but I suppose it beats working. Now, this picture you're doing, is it what do you call it? A commission work?
No, purely for me. I suppose really it's my tribute to Mike.
In the style of, so to speak.
Well, that's inevitable, isn't it? We work together.
You've got a lot to live up to then, eh?
Hey, what's that supposed to mean?
Well, his paintings. Pretty good, some of them, weren't they?
But they weren't his paintings. They were our paintings.
Oh, yeah, I know that, but... What? Really, both of you?
Of course.
Yeah, well, that's what it says in your brochure, isn't it?
Well, it's true.
So you mean you actually did work on the same picture together?
Of course. I thought people knew that.
Well, yes, they do, but... What, you mean he wasn't sort of, how to put it, more of the artist than you?
Hey, come on.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
That's awful.
Yeah, isn't it? I just assumed...
That I primed his canvas and mixed his paints.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, he was so big, I suppose, wasn't he? Sort of flamboyant, colourful. Like an artist. Like you imagine an artist.
There were times he wasn't colourful.
Well, like everybody. Sexist to me, then, eh?
Does everybody think that?
I don't know. I suppose they don't talk about you that much. Well, they do, but... Well, you don't really look like an artist, do you?
I should do. I am one. How am I supposed to take that?
Oh, as a compliment. You know what else? Whenever there's anything about you, like that telly programme and the colour supplements, well, it's always Mike, isn't it? It was always Mike did all the talking.
Well, that was Mike, wasn't it?
That's right. So, it really was a shared thing. A sort of joint creativity.
I hate phrases like that. We worked together.
So, 50-50?
I suppose if the truth's known. No. Yes, 50-50.
That telly programme, you had Emmy on your knee. He did all the painting and stuff.
Because I had Emmy on my knee.
Point taken.
Oh, I don't know where you are. I don't like your back reflected like this painting. I don't know why. It's too still, too dead. You've got to be alive. Wherever you are, it's got to be alive. Perhaps it's your face looking out. And my back painting. I said today to that Bob bloke this was a tribute to you. Your beautiful face. Perhaps you're laughing out at the sea. I can't get it. I need a photo. Can you believe that? I can't get your face. Mike, do you hear? I can't get your face. Photos are back at the cottage. Oh, you're back soon.
No, I'm not.
Oh, I'm sorry, love. I was well into it there. What time is it?
Dunno. Went down to the beach after school.
Killing jellyfish?
Have a biscuit.
Of course. Anyone go with you?
No. Samantha.
You could have asked her back.
Why?
It'd be nice for you.
Didn't want her back.
Is she your best friend now?
No.
Who is?
No one.
Oh, excuse me.
What's got too much money and drops from a great height?
Give up.
Mike Croucher.
God, Amy, what? Who said that?
It's a joke at school.
I'll make us a meal. She isn't that callous. She really isn't. She loved you. You were God to her. How could she say that as a joke? What's happening at school? Is she being taunted? A joke like that must hurt her, must be her defence. She can steel herself against the hurt of it by telling it, by telling me. I ought to take her away from that school. Educate her myself. It's just selfishness I don't. Give her all of me, that's what she needs, what she has a right to expect. At least take her on holiday for a few weeks. She's never had a holiday since you died. I'll do that. Go tomorrow. Get her out of that place. Give her my total self. That's all she needs. My complete self. It's not too much to ask of your own mother, for God's sake. I'll go to the school in the morning. Tell them I'm taking her away. Forget the painting. It's just indulgence. Indulge her for a change. What harm will a few weeks off lessons do?
Ugh, no sugar.
Well, you can manage to put your own sugar in, Emmy, surely.
Okay, if you can't be bothered.
Anyway, last night, love, I was thinking, how'd you like to go away?
Where?
Wherever. Somewhere hot.
Wouldn't mind.
Yeah. I was thinking, when I finish this painting, I mean, it shouldn't take long, perhaps 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Oh, I thought you meant now.
Did you?
We break up in 3 weeks anyway.
Well, that'd be perfect then.
I like being here in the holidays. Thought you meant get off school.
Do you hate school, Emmy?
It's boring.
Tell me, love, is anybody... Are they ganging up on you at school?
Ganging up.
Tell me.
Of they're not.
Kids can be so cruel, Emmy.
They're okay.
Sometimes, when they feel somebody's different, they'll go out of their way to try and hurt that person. When all they're doing really is showing their fear of them, showing that they think they're pretty good, really. Are they ganging up?
Of course not.
So why do you want to get off school?
It's boring, that's all. Why can't we go now?
You need your lessons, Emmy. I suppose I have to feel guilty. Whatever I do, I have to feel guilty. If I want a life of my own, I have to feel guilty. You said I expect too much of myself. There's no such thing as the perfect mother, you said. Just let it go. Children are ruthless. You have to be ruthless yourself or you cease to exist. You have to demand for yourself. But she doesn't. She doesn't demand anything. The only ruthless child in this family was... Oh, forget it. Mike, I'll finish your picture and we'll go. She'll love it. Go somewhere really good. Spend some money. I still can't see where you are, though. Somewhere in this picture is the perfect place for you. The essential place. I've got to find it. Fix it. Is that what I tried while you lived? To pin you down? Fix you down? God, Mike, I hope not. Me in you and you in me. That's what you believed, of course. You had those phrases about united souls and marriages of the mind. I hated those phrases. We worked well together, that's all. And that's greater. That's surely greater. But if I was painting for you, I'd paint a sort of hybrid creature with a face that's a sort of soggy blend of you and me. Bearded lady. But I'm not painting for you. Hey, do you realise? I'm not painting for you. Through the window is the sea. In the window, reflected, there's you, taunting, jeering out. And me behind. All wife and work. Except my work is painting. And at the side of the window, in the wall, is that hole.
Hi.
Oh, God, you startled me.
When's tea?
Oh, sorry, love, I haven't thought about it. No friends tonight?
Amy Reeves tried to walk with me, but I said her to go home.
Why?
Didn't want her.
Friends are important, you know, Emmy.
Can I have a biscuit?
Yes.
There's a cat stray on the lane. I keep seeing it. It's weird. Stares at you as if it could eat you.
Emmy, come sit by me. Emmy, love, I want you to find friends. You're so different to how you were before Daddy died. When someone close dies, love, it's a terrible, terrible shock. And it needs strength. It needs real strength to have to force yourself sometimes to get to normal again. You used to have lots of friends. You'd never come home alone.
Well, Daddy always brought me.
And friends, though, Emmy. Not just Daddy.
It was Daddy usually asked them.
Well, you liked that, didn't you?
Sometimes I didn't. I never wanted Amy Reeves anyway. He always asked her.
Yes, but you never bring anyone now.
I like it just with you.
You miss him dreadfully, don't you?
You miss him, don't you, Mummy?
Yes.
I miss him. It needs strength, Mummy. And I like it, just you and me.
Oh, love. sea's obscured. Slightly obscured by the glass. You and me are reflections. Visible, yet transparent. Ghosts. The one thing that's immediate is that hook. God, that hook. That gull's nearly as much with me as you are. Do I put in the gull? Tethered, ferocious, bleeding? No, it makes it a nightmare picture, and I don't want that. And there's not 3 of us in the picture, it's just you and me. There's not even Emmy. I'm not having a bloody gull. But I'll keep the hook. It's a good shape. What is it about this hook?
Mummy,
Emmy, love, have I disturbed you?
why have you got the lamp like that?
I'm sorry. Thought you were asleep.
You know that man, that Bob? Do you like him?
I don't know, not specially. I suppose I quite do. Why?
I don't want him to come on holiday.
Emmy?
I don't want him. I don't want him.
What brought this on?
He's horrible. I don't want him.
What's he done?
He's just horrible.
Tell me.
I don't want him to come on holiday.
Emmy, I wouldn't think of it. I wouldn't dream of it. Has something happened? What's he done?
Nothing.
Well, what then? Were you dreaming?
He's just another man to tell you what to do.
Who tells me what to do? Nobody tells me what to do.
Daddy,
Daddy.
he used to. He told everyone.
Ah, but did they do it? You silly thing. Why ever should I ask him on holiday?
Will you lie with me?
Of course. So, you were thinking about holidays.
Wish we could go during school.
I know, but I won't relax till I finish the picture, love, honest. Where'd you like to go?
Dunno.
You know where I'd like?
Where?
Egypt. See the pyramids.
Oh, yeah, I want to see
And
crocodiles.
Tutankhamun.
Yeah.
And the desert.
Camels.
Palm trees, oases.
Yeah.
You coming then?
When?
Soon.
Yeah.
You need a drink?
No. Mummy, I don't miss Daddy that much.
Bob said how colourful you were. Why can't I remember your face? That's what they say. The face is the first thing that goes. But with us... If I could catch your face as it was when you told me you'd got us the Spendler Commission. Like a little boy to his mum you were. All pride and smiles. That's how I'd like to get you. You were good at getting commissions. Good talker. All a little boy's sham. I don't know if I'd like your face like that anyway. Full frontal like that. You're too big. Too obvious. In the wall is the hook. Beyond the hook is the window. Where are you? Where am I?
I told Mrs. Bragg we were going to Egypt. She told us all about it. Did you know the pyramids are really graves?
Well, tombs.
Boring. I thought they were palaces.
Well, they are sort of palaces.
Dead men's palaces.
What else did Mrs. Bragg say?
She said it was hot.
Well, it'll be cool inside.
Inside where?
Inside the pyramids.
Who wants to go inside?
No point going if you don't go inside.
Who wants to go to graves?
They're not just graves, Emmy. They're beautiful. They were built with gold and turquoise and amazing things.
Full of bones and dead men.
Don't you want to go then?
I want to see crocodiles.
You see the crocodiles, I'll see the pyramids.
Can we take time off school then?
No. What's happening at school, Emmy? Tell me honestly.
What?
That joke about Daddy, love, that was horrible.
Only a joke?
Are people getting at you?
No,
You sure?
of course. Just a joke.
Funny joke.
It's not. It's like, what's pink pink and podgy one minute and red and runny the next.
What?
A baby in a liquidizer.
God, let's have tea.
Are you still only sketching? How long before you start?
Don't know. I can't find where Daddy should be.
Is Daddy in it?
Oh, yes, it's all about Daddy.
Stick him in the sea then.
He was very alive and very exciting, Emmy, love. All his energy. Somewhere in the picture is him as I remember him, and somewhere he's as I sense him now. I don't know. It's holding me up at the moment. I can't find where.
Put him there.
That hook. That's where the goal was.
Put him there.
Eat your tea. Remember when he painted your bike? Well, you won't. But it was Joe's old one. And he cleaned it and polished it and painted it scarlet. That was your colour then.
It was too big for me.
Not for long. You soon grew into it.
He made me ride it when I couldn't. I remember that.
You grew to love it.
Yes, I did, didn't I?
He loved seeing you on the bike.
It was too big, though.
Is this light too much? Will you be able to sleep?
Mummy, there was one night I got up in the night because I heard you, and I came down and listened because I hated the noise.
When was this?
It was that gypsy painting time.
God, Emmy, don't.
I couldn't help it.
Oh, God, I didn't know you'd heard.
It was so loud.
Oh, God.
Why did you stop him painting?
I didn't stop him painting.
He said you did.
I never ever did one thing to stop him painting. Never ever. God, Emmy, you must believe, you must.
He said, you stop me painting, so I'll stop you painting.
No.
He said,
It's not true. It is not true. He stopped. He just gave up. Please, Emmy, please believe me. It's not true.
what happened to that gypsy painting?
Mike ripped it up, then burnt it.
Why?
He didn't like me doing things on my own, painting on my own. But it was just that once. He never did it again. He wanted us to always work together, you see. He wanted us to only be together in everything we did. Working together.
Why?
I don't know. Because he loved me. Because we worked so well together. And he didn't want anything to... I don't really understand, Emmy. Because we loved each other.
Will you lie with me?
It's ludicrous it should be you painting. It's years since you painted except for the cameras. God, blasphemy. Oh, Mike. Why did you stop? Just because I was going well didn't mean you couldn't. No one stopped you. I didn't stop you. God. God, Mike. How could I have given you more? There's Emmy who takes half of me. More. And there's you asking for the whole of what's left. But I have to work, Mike. I have to work or I'll go mad. And that was the deal, for God's sake. We were a partnership and we could work inside the partnership and we could work outside. God, Mike, that's perfect. That has to be perfect. And I mean, we got known as a partnership. So proud of that I was. We both were. So unusual. And it was a partnership. You were there working, much as me then, More, because Emmy took more time. How could you leave Emmy? How could you lose her? How could you do it to her? All that about the fusion of minds, the fusion of souls, that's need, Mike. That's not love. Fear, desperation. Could never be fusion. Just possession. You of me. The hook. It's more intrusive. Come further in. There's a piece of electric cable attached. You didn't love Emmy. It's simple. You didn't love. There's no you reflected in my past. Just the hook, the indifferent ocean, and me, unmoved. Less responsive now to your demands.
Why have you got up?
Oh, I'm sorry, Pet. Did I wake you?
Come back to me.
Of course, love. A dream. It's Mike's dead body, right? And he's headless. And there's an eel, and it's gone in through his neck, and you can see its tail wriggling out.
God.
And then its head is out. So its head's Mike's head. Fixes me a stare and comes for me. Wants me, absorb me, eat me.
What does it get you?
It gets to my throat, this eel's head, and I scream, and that's it. Didn't scream for real, thank God. I didn't wake Emmy.
That's horrific. Is it Freud or something?
What, you mean snakes going in bodies and all that?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Not sex. It's something else. It's good to talk anyway.
I wish I could help somehow.
You do? By listening.
Good. Well, how's the picture anyway?
Still working it out, you know. Okay.
Sounds a bit like an affair.
Well, exactly.
And Emmy?
She's doing okay. I think. I hope. She seems to be getting nearer all the time, though, you know.
Nearer?
Nearer, closer. I don't know. Needing me more or something. But happy. I think she's happy. She likes it here. But I can't get off that mattress at night without her waking. Come back, Mummy, lie with me.
Is that hard?
Well, it's okay. I might take her away.
Oh,
Maybe Egypt.
nice. I've been thinking about you.
Oh, my God, what's this?
No, I just thought sometime you might like to come out and eat, or go into town or something. Have a break.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's up to you.
Yes,
What do you think?
I probably would, yes. When?
Oh, whenever.
But I couldn't leave Emmy. It would have to be daytime.
Fine. Okay, well, I'll do something about it.
See you then.
Okay. See you, Jean.
Egypt, where the dead men live. I'm not painting for you, but it's still a painting of you. It's still you. You, eternally you. You daytime, Emmy nighttime. What's changed? Nothing's changed. You jump over a cliff, nothing changes. It's exactly the relationship we've always had. Me tearing round trying to get you right, hey? Never succeeding. What drops from a great height and stays right where it was? Through the window is the sea. Reflected in the window is me. My back, painting. The tether round my ankle is of electric cable, and it leads to the hook.
I'm never going to get married. Never ever. We'll stay together forever, and when you get old, I'll look after you. We'll stay in this room forever, Mummy. Okay?
Forever's a long time in this room.
No, and we can go for walks, go for holidays.
What about your friends?
What about them?
What's so wonderful about this room?
I like it.
You've your own room in the cottage.
I hate the cottage.
We'll have to go back, Emmy, love. We can't stay here forever.
Why? They'll let us. They want us. I'll stay off school, show you the horses. And Christmas we'll have a tree in here, okay? And we'll let that cat in for the day, but kick him out after. Okay? Okay, Mum.
What's wrong with the cottage?
It's horrible.
But you've your own room there.
Who wants their own room? Lie with me, please.
Oh, no. Oh, God. So, Mike, so... You with the eel's head at my throat and eating. Oh, God. And I try to scream, but there's no sound because you're through my vocal cords. Is it death? But there's the herring gull in rage, and suddenly it's got you through your neck, and it drags you huge out of my throat, and it's out, away, up from the cliff, out over the sea, and I watch, and there's no pain at all. And in the distance, as I watch, in the distance, in the great bland emptiness of ocean, the gull lets go. And then there's nothing. A ripple on the sea, a moment, then you're gone. Through the window is grey. Nothing but grey. Just, oh, I don't know, fog or something. Maybe sea or sky. Who cares? Reflected in the window central is your face. Big like a Humpty Dumpty. Tiny arms. And in each hand, a tether of electric cable. But they tether nothing, just dangle in the air. And the look on your face is impotence and fear. Frightened, empty boy. I'll be at the cottage this evening, love, so come there, not here, okay?
Oh, why?
We're moving back.
What? Why?
We're just moving back. I've finished here. I don't want to be here.
No. No.
Emmy, I'm having no fuss, no argument. We're finished here. I'll see you at the cottage tonight. That's it.
Mummy,
Emmy, don't argue. Just don't argue. Don't argue, Emmy. Come here. I love you. Work hard at school now. Goodbye, love. I love you.
Bye.
We can't go on meeting like this.
Hello, Bob.
How's it going?
It's finished.
Well, that was quick. Congratulations.
Thanks.
That's not it, is it?
No, this is just a sketch.
Oh, good. I don't understand art, to be honest. Wouldn't have known what to say if it was. Anyway, look, next Wednesday.
What?
Come for lunch.
Would you do me a favour, Bob?
Of course.
2 favours. 1, don't take offence. 2, leave me alone.
Oh.
I like you, Bob. I think you're probably really nice. But at the moment, I don't need you. Do you see? I don't need anybody.
I see.
Do you?
Of course.
Thank you.
Okay. So, so long, Jean.
Thanks, Bob.
Bye.
Bye.
Listen, if you ever do need anyone,
I'll
just...
remember. Your trouble, Mike. You gave up living.
Not here.
Oh, very tidy, aren't they?
Well, they appear to have gone.
They do, don't they? Well, that's nice. Perhaps just for the weekend, back Monday, I suppose. Anyway, Martin, there I was, sitting in their boardroom, I suppose it was, and there's this lovely painting, huge, sort of a chemical plant rising out of a cornfield with poppies, beautiful colours. And I said, how lovely, who's that by? Guess.
Rembrandt?
Caswell and Croucher, which of course rang a bell, so I said, who? And they said, you must have heard of them, so I said, of course. And then, of course, it clicked.
What did?
Jean Caswell and Mike Croucher.
Oh, good gracious.
I've been into it, Martin. It turns out, and you won't believe it, but Caswell and Croucher, as they call themselves, her, are one of the most, chic painters going. I mean, after your Hockneys and so on. I mean, I was staggered.
Wow.
They've had teleprograms about them, colour supplements.
Good Lord. Well, that explains this place.
So I just dropped, of course. Yes, she's looking after our house for us. I didn't get the contract, but it was worth it.
Well,
I don't know how we hadn't heard of them. We read the arts pages. They're terribly famous.
just one of those blank spots, I suppose. Everybody has them.
We must get some people down to meet her. Oh, what about the Beaumonts? They'd be livid.
The Beaumonts?
Well, you suggest some of your friends, then?
My friends? Oh, my friends are terribly dull.
Don't start all that, Martin. I haven't seen you for a week.
Lucky you.
Meaning what?
Meaning what? John Cox? Ted Beaumont?
What's brought this on?
You tell me.
If you're suggesting I've been unfaithful, then I can assure you, Martin, I haven't touched another man all week. Oh, that's not true. I've shaken hands with a lot and pecked a few cheeks, but further than that I have not gone, nor have I had any desire to.
How restrained.
Oh, shit, Martin, what's the matter? Don't start all this
All this?
rigmarole and nonsense. What's the problem? Tell me what's wrong.
And quick as a flash, you'll solve it.
Well, I'll try. At least I'll try.
With a wave of the magic
If
wand.
only for the sake of a reasonably pleasant weekend.
And Monday morning you'll whisk off back to London, back to your high-powered and desperately exciting little job.
I see.
And I'll go and drill teeth for another bloody sickening week. I never see you.
Every weekend, Martin. That's my commitment.
It just seems pointless. What is the point in a marriage where we never see each other? You see more of John Cox than you do of
John
me.
Cox is nothing. Nobody.
Who or what am I?
You're a very valuable person. You give me my freedom. That's vital, Martin. I have to function on my own. Oh, it's difficult for you. I know it's difficult. But you've got to be strong and take it and help and share. That's love, Martin. That's what love is. It's helping your partner, not holding them back. There's not many men could do what you do, believe me. You support me. Really.
Really?
Really, Martin. Really.
Thanks.
I'm going for a gin.
Enjoy.
Oh, come on, Martin. Don't spoil it.
No, I'm not. I will.
I'll see you through there.
Right. See you. Be strong and take it, Martin. That's love. That's what love is. Be strong. Be strong.
The Guthrie Process, a play for radio by David Wade, with William Fox as Hamilton Guthrie.
Once upon a time there was a man. His name was Peter Edwards. He had a very good job and a very good girl. Her name was Helen Mackenzie.
Helen, darling,
What is it, my love?
are you happy?
Oh, yes. And you?
Very happy. Very happy indeed.
Helen's father, Sir Alistair, owned the company for which Peter worked. Mackenzie Developments, it was called. Limited, but not very.
Good morning, Sir Alistair.
Ah, Peter, come in, sit you down.
Thank you, sir.
How are you then, and how's that girl of mine?
I'm fine. We're both fine.
Looking after her, eh?
You can count on me for that.
Now, I want to talk to you about this Wingate contract.
He was a generous man, old Mackenzie, and if from time to time it crossed his mind to wonder why young Edwards didn't just marry his daughter and have done, he would say to himself,
"Oh, well, there's a time, there's a place."
As it was, Helen clearly found life good, and that to Mackenzie was important. His other daughter, Helen's twin Diana, had been, well, less fortunate.
I will not be patronized all the time.
Girl, I've bent over backwards to avoid patronizing you.
Then I wish you'd just stand up straight, even if I can't.
Oh, for God's sake.
Poor Diana. Some misfortune of conception or of birth had left her crippled, her body twisted like an old root. Her face, however, was a replica of Helen's, a bitter replica.
Anyway, I'm leaving home.
I see. It's probably for the best.
And don't send looking for me. I can look out for myself.
I'm sure you'll do it very well.
Oh, you're so tolerant. Don't you feel anything?
At certain times, there's no satisfying some people. So Diana left home and never communicated with her father again. Few people knew of her existence, not even Peter Edwards. His life remained unclouded, and it was expected that he would do well. Mind you, he was the sort of man, young Edwards, to whom success came easily.
Aye, too easily, maybe. A mite complacent, that young man. Doesn't appreciate his own good luck. And I've been thinking it wouldn't hurt him to move around a bit, try his hand at something else, another company, broaden his experience. Come in.
Morning, Sir Alistair.
Ah, Peter, look, I'm rather tied up at the minute. Come back later, will you, please?
But we have an appointment to discuss
Listen, I said later, if you don't mind.
Well, look, I'm sorry, but...
I'll send for you.
Just as you wish.
Complacent, but that shook him.
And so it came about that for no reason he could quite admit to himself, there came upon Peter Edwards the feeling that things were no longer right, that possibly he ought to look around. He began to ask himself if maybe life, with a capital L, were not passing him by, and whether in his present company, the only one he'd known, the opportunities were quite what they'd been cracked up to be. In short, a great restlessness came upon him.
Happy, darling?
Of course. Why do you keep on asking?
And that is where our story, most stories, begin.
Ladies and gentlemen, the curtain will rise in 2 minutes. In 2 minutes.
Peter? Peter?
For God's sake, where have you been?
So sorry, darling. I got stuck in a traffic jam.
Oh, come on.
Stalls to your right. Circle to your left.
This way.
Who are you talking to?
Talking to?
As I came in, a man. Look, there he is, just there.
Oh, him. That's Piers Trevelyan.
Do I know him?
No, I doubt it. I met him last week at a convention.
Who is he?
Oh, I don't know. Some sort of consultant.
Tickets, please. All tickets. To your right, sir.
Peter, are you looking for another job?
What makes you ask?
The papers, mainly. Bits missing from the situations vacant.
Just testing the market. Anything wrong in that?
Nothing, but it's nice to know.
Programme, please. I'd thought of asking Piers to dinner next Wednesday, perhaps.
Just as you like.
Well, have you an objection?
Should I have?
The curtain will rise in 1 minute. 1 minute.
Ah, Piers. You found us then.
You live a very long way up.
Come in.
Thank you. Smart. Trendy.
Thank you. Let me take your coat.
You wouldn't have a hanger, I suppose.
Of course.
It does preserve the shape.
Now, come and get a drink.
Ah, this must be Mrs.
Piers, this is Miss Mackenzie. Helen. Darling, this is Piers Trevelyan.
How do you do?
Hello, Helen. We've met before, I think.
I think not.
On second thoughts, I must be mistaken.
Now, Piers, what's it going to be?
Oh, Scotch, I think.
With ice?
No, thanks. I think it's cool enough already, don't you?
Darling?
Scotch.
No ice?
Yes, ice. Rather a lot.
More coffee?
No, thanks. I shan't sleep if I do.
A drop more brandy, then.
Well, maybe. Just a drop. How kind. Helen, I don't think I've persuaded you.
I don't think you have.
No, please understand, I've not a thing against your father's company. It's a first-class organisation, highest standards, all that sort of thing. But you just have to face it. These days, a man must move around, chance his arm, go after challenges. I mean, if he doesn't...
What?
Well, how do people know his worth?
They should be able to tell. I'm sure I can.
Ah, but then women have an instinct for such things, don't they? Terrifying, I always think. Of course, each man to his own challenge. Some people would contend that a beautiful woman is a challenge in herself. Wouldn't you agree?
I don't challenge anyone.
Do you not? No, but the point is, a man must be prepared. We live in dangerous times. Some most reliable companies have been known to fail. Oh, yes. A man who finds himself on the market stands a better chance if he's knocked around a bit, got his hands dirty.
I'm sure you're right.
I know I am. But I'm keeping you up.
No, not in the least.
I think I am. Miss Mackenzie is yawning. Good night, Helen. A fabulous dinner. I hope we shall meet again.
Good night.
I'll just see Piers down.
All right.
Don't forget your coat.
Thank you. Who pays for all that? The flat and so forth?
Oh, I do.
Quite a commitment. They grow, commitments, don't you find? I'm glad I don't live as high as this.
Why not?
I think it's dangerous to live too high.
Here we are.
I fear your Helen doesn't care for me.
Oh, I wouldn't go as far as that. She's
Particular?
antisocial.
Why aren't you married? You don't mind me asking?
No. I don't know why not.
I must say, I'm surprised at you, knocking off the boss's daughter, or how I raise myself from failure to success. Oh, don't be offended, please.
I'm not.
Does he realize what's going on?
Yes.
And doesn't care? Well.
Well, I suppose he thinks I'll make an honest woman of her.
Will you?
I've not yet decided. The present setup gives a sense of independence.
Of course. We all need that. She is extremely beautiful. I take it then you are quite seriously looking round.
Yes. The trouble is, I want to do it without old man Mackenzie finding out. Which means I can't keep going off for interviews. I want to face him with a fait accompli.
Quite. I'll put you in touch with someone, a consultant.
Oh. I thought you were a consultant.
Me? Oh, no. Taxi!
What is your line, then?
I'm a sort of contact man. This chap would suit you very well. He has an entree with all the companies that count. He specializes in cases such as yours.
In what way?
Quick and accurate placement. Confidentiality guaranteed.
What's the name?
Guthrie. Hamilton Guthrie Associates.
I've never heard of him.
He doesn't advertise. Headhunters, they call them.
Oh.
But soft we are observed.
I beg your pardon?
Up there. The anxious face at the high-lighted window gazing down. Tender, concerned. Oh, you lucky man. Taxi! Good night, Peter. Pleasant dreams.
Good night.
And so it came about that the next day Peter Edwards rang up Piers Trevelyan to confirm his interest in an early meeting with Hamilton Guthrie Associates. And Piers Trevelyan, in his office as a sort of contact man, was pleased to communicate this item of news immediately to Mr. Guthrie at his rather splendid premises, situated in the best part of town. Here, with his customary efficiency, the said Hamilton Guthrie promptly dictated an invitation.
Kindly confirm that these arrangements are convenient, but if not, an alternative appointment can be made. Yours, etc. All right, Mrs. Briggs?
Yes, Mr. Guthrie?
He was a spare man, Hamilton Guthrie, and of little more than medium height. But he had what might be termed presence, in the sense that when he was around, you sometimes rather wished he might be absent. His secretary and confidential assistant, Mrs. Briggs, was a woman also of some presence, though without the qualification, except that when she stood and moved, even her remarkably elegant clothes could not conceal the iron on her leg, nor compensate for the grotesque effect of a severe limp. It is also worth observing that had you been able to see her, you would certainly have been struck by the extraordinary resemblance to... but no, we'll be coming to that in a minute.
I'd be obliged if you just read back what I've given you, Mrs. Briggs.
Dear Mr. Edwards, I understand from Mr. Piers Trevelyan that you are possibly seeking a new appointment. It so happens that my company has been retained in the strictest confidence to fill a high executive position for a well-known international organization. This is a post calling for a man of exceptional ability and offering commensurate opportunities and rewards. The few details I have of you lead me to believe that you may possess the necessary qualities.
That's a good line, an excellent line.
There is one point which I must emphasize. Owing to the extremely demanding nature of the job, my clients have stipulated that they will only appoint a single man. You say nothing of your status, but provided that...
Have we no background on this fellow, Mrs. Briggs?
I told you, Mr. Guthrie, only Mr. Trevelyan's notes.
Trevelyan, remind me to take it up with him. The question of his staff work, most unsatisfactory. Carry on, please.
Nothing of your status, but provided you satisfy this condition and will continue to do so, might I suggest a meeting at this office at 10 a.m. next Monday, April 8th. Might I also ask that, as I am bound in this matter by the strictest confidence, you will not at this stage disclose our meeting to any third party whatsoever. A career record form is enclosed which you should complete and bring with you to our meeting. Kindly confirm.
All right, that's fine. Get it off and just check the marital status position with the registrar.
Yes, Mr. Guthrie. There is just one point.
Hmm?
This Mr. Edwards works for Mackenzie's. I did once have dealings with Mackenzie's.
You never told me.
Well, no, it never came to anything, but...
You mean you know this Edwards man and he knows you?
I'm almost sure we never met, but just in case, it might be better if someone else received him.
I'll do it myself. You take a good look at him on the monitor. If you know him, flash me, and I'll fetch the coffee in as well.
Thank you, Mr. Guthrie.
What sort of dealings with Mackenzie, Mrs. Briggs?
I went for a job.
They're careful whom they pick.
Aren't you, Mr. Guthrie?
My standards are different. There's nothing else you haven't told me, is there, Mrs. Briggs?
Nothing.
I hope not. I'm pleased with you, Mrs. Briggs. You picked the job up very well.
That day was a Friday. On the Saturday morning, Peter Edwards received the letter you've just heard. So on the following Monday, when he came into breakfast, he was dressed with something more than his usual degree of care.
What's all this in aid of?
Nothing in particular.
It's an interview, isn't it?
How did you know?
Oh, darling, really. Mind you, you could have said. Does Father know?
Oh, I'll tell him in good time. Not that I imagine he'll lose any sleep.
What's that supposed to mean? He does have other interests, you know. What's wrong in discussing...
I don't want his other interests. I can't spend all my life working for one organisation, not even for Mackenzie's.
Has this anything to do with Piers Trevelyan?
Oh, what if it has?
Has it?
No.
What job are you going for?
I don't know.
You could...
I'm seeing a consultant, he hasn't said.
Is that usual?
Perfectly. The whole thing is in the strictest confidence. And that's one reason why I haven't mentioned it. I'll tell you about it later.
There is going to be a later, then?
What do you mean?
You know.
But
why not change me as well? Why not? You can't spend all your life living with one woman.
Oh, don't be a fool.
Peter, what's the matter with us? What's gone wrong?
Wrong? I don't do anything, I don't achieve anything. My job, you, everything, sheer nepotism.
That isn't true.
I've got it made, haven't I?
Oh, darling, when did my father ever show you the slightest favour?
Oh, sure, he takes good care not to. He takes very good care.
Of course he does.
Oh, no, I mean, he knows. I can tell it by the way he looks at me, by the way he fobs me off.
What does he know?
That I'm not making the grade, that he's backed the wrong man.
I don't believe it.
Ask him. Oh, I must go.
Peter, be careful.
That's what I am being.
Don't I even get a kiss?
Sorry.
See you later, then.
Yes. Yes. Well now, Mr. Edwards, anything we haven't covered then? Anything you'd like to add?
I believe I've told you everything.
Yes, date of birth, nationality at birth and now, number of children. No children.
I said I'm not married.
Cela, as they say, n'empêche. Parents both deceased? Sure.
Of course.
Well, it's not always easy to tell. You typed your form of application. Why?
It's easier to read.
Or more difficult. Here, take this. Write this down. There is no art to find the mind's construction in the face. Got it?
Mind's
construction in the face.
Yes.
Makes sense to you?
More or less.
Believe it?
I haven't thought.
Let me save you the trouble. It's rubbish. It exemplifies traditional human pessimism. I can find the mind's construction in the face, oh yes. I can find it in a lot of things. Let's have a look at what you've written. Much as I would have predicted.
What?
Marginal autism in early childhood, receding. Some Oedipal emergence, rather slight. Too slight. Are you sure you're not married?
Certain. Did you say autism?
That's right. Pathological withdrawal.
Yeah, I know.
Sometimes persists into adult life as a reluctance to mix with the herd.
Well, I admit I may appear a shade withdrawn, but pathologically...
All withdrawal is pathological, don't you think?
Well, I wouldn't go as far as that.
You will. Yes?
I don't know him.
Sure?
Absolutely.
Fine. I'll ring for coffee presently. Yes, as I was saying. What are you doing?
Well, I'm sorry to have wasted your time.
Please sit down, Mr. Edwards.
Look!
Sit, please.
Oh, what's the point? You've made it abundantly clear that you regard me as inadequate.
That I never said. I regard you as entirely adequate. A serviceable mechanism. Excellent raw material.
But in your letter, you said...
Men of exceptional ability.
Yes.
At which you thought, that's me.
No. I mean, it was an attractive letter. Challenging.
It brings them in.
As regards my ability, that's for you to judge.
Oh, quite. Mrs. Briggs, fetch in that coffee, will you please? You see, Edwards, my organization is retained by some, if not all, of the country's industrial leaders to find what they, in their simple-minded way, are pleased to call men of outstanding ability. Men, that is, dedicated to the job in hand with no other thought than to live it, eat it, sleep it. However, and this is one of the realizations that comes to all consultants sooner or later. Come in. Ah, Mrs. Briggs.
Helen...
You are acquainted with Mrs. Briggs?
No. No, just for a moment. She reminded me
of who?
A girl I used to know. Oh, it was years ago. Forgive me. We've never met.
Mrs. Briggs is not easily mistaken. This gentleman is Mr. Edwards.
How do you do? Sugar?
Please. Thank you very much.
I'm just on the point of explaining to Mr. Edwards what we're looking for in the Mansfield International vacancy. I think you might sit in. It's all experience. You've no objection, Edwards, I suppose?
None at all.
Mrs. Briggs is a soul of discretion.
Oh, I can see that.
Can you now? Are you sure you're not married?
I told you.
It's this Oedipal trace. It should be more developed. But if you really are certain...
Oh, for God's sake, I ought to know.
My dear fellow, most married men never find out. Where was I?
Oh, one of the realizations.
Ah, yes. What your consultant has to realize is this. That men such as he is asked to find have a sort of scarcity. You with me so far?
Yes.
Well, drink your coffee. Don't let it get cold. All right, is it?
Delicious.
Yes. The point I wish to make is that over the years, I found myself increasingly disinclined to accept this situation. In the last consultancy I worked for, the greater part of my time was devoted to the submission of applicants whose brows receded and whose knuckles grazed the ground. I was obliged to pass them on with explanations. The perfect man does not exist. We are all merely human, and other such defeatist talk. Therefore, I entered business on my own. I approached the problem in a more positive way. I said, if these chaps are so hard to find, why then? I shall simply have to manufacture them.
Manufacture?
Manufacture. It's all a matter of refined technology, a process of my own. Mr. Edwards, you'll do just splendidly for Mansfield International by the time I've finished with you.
I think perhaps I ought to be going. Oh.
Relax. You are going out. Just smooth his brow, Mrs. Briggs. All right, Ron. He's all yours. Come in, will you? That's the ticket. Wheel the lad away.
Got his worksheet, Mr. Guthrie?
On the desk.
Okay. Right then, Fred, take his feet. Up. There you go.
A Mackenzie man. I've always wanted one of them. Funny. I expected something more impressive. Who's next?
You've no one else till this afternoon.
Good. You've never seen the processing, I think?
No, Mr. Guthrie.
Then come along and watch them wiring Edwards up.
Now, while all this was going on, Helen Mackenzie sat at the high window of her elegant apartment and looked out over the city. A strange unease lay upon her, and toward midday, sure that Peter must by now be at his desk, she telephoned his office. But he wasn't there, and nothing had been heard of him. Nor would be, for at that moment Peter Edwards lay, trance-like, upon a couch in a room forming part of the rather unexpectedly extensive back premises of Hamilton Guthrie Associates. Outside this room stood Guthrie himself and Mrs. Briggs. They watched the activity within through a panel in the door, and on this door was inscribed Lobel Epileptic Thought and Habit Eraser. This somewhat cumbrous title the Guthrie organization found convenient to abbreviate. They called it Lethe.
There he lies, the late Peter Edwards, tomorrow's George Davenport.
What are they doing to him?
Locating the electrodes on the skull. It's a fiddly job. The cerebral interactions are so fine. To wipe the slate clean is by no means easy.
You remember nothing?
Not a thing.
What happens next?
We wipe the slate, and then we fill it up again.
How fill it up?
Alpha, just down the corridor.
What's alpha?
Come and see. Alpha, activator for the long-term programming of human abilities. On. You have the program set for Davenport.
Just testing for impact and interaction, Mr. Guthrie.
Good. We'll wait outside and see him in. Sit, Mrs. Briggs. You mustn't tire that poor leg of yours. Is something wrong?
When you say fill it up...
I mean just that. Oh, dear, it isn't difficult. The average pass consists of large gaps and even larger inventions. Add to that the compulsion that is part of man's nature to account for himself, and the job's half done.
But what about his relatives, his friends?
Close relatives are difficult. Parents, wives. That is why a Guthrie man will invariably be single and an orphan. But aunts, uncles, friends, mere friends, those are easily put off.
So when he leaves this place, a Guthrie man is friendless?
Certainly not. That would be most inadvisable. Where is a man's identity if not in his friends, his family? No. Now take Edwards, Davenport. He'll find 100 men and women who recall him perfectly, and he them. A widowed mother, resident in Broadstairs. A father, decomposing these 4 years or more in Putney Vale. It's all been written in. Perhaps, Mrs. Briggs, you have been underestimating the scale of my activities. There is one other point, Mrs. Briggs, which at this stage should be made clear.
Oh, yes?
I take it that you are satisfied with your position here, your privileged position?
Yes.
There's no need for me to remind you of the wretchedness from which I raised you up?
None.
Good. We are talking of the past and of new memories. What Guthrie men remember is as good as most, but it would not bear close investigation. Therefore, it must not be investigated. Each Guthrie man is programmed so that nothing would induce him to look at his origins. And to that program, you are linked.
Me?
Your face is very lovely, Mrs. Briggs. Oh, a Madonna. Your body is twisted like a vine. On the one hand, you attract. We want attraction. It keeps our products loyal and brings new business. On the other hand, for want of a better word, you repel. In short, for every Guthrie man, you are the stimulus to reinforce a programmed attitude. You keep him on the primrose path.
I see.
Cheer up, Mrs. Briggs. At least I didn't manufacture you. If I had, how would you ever know? There goes Edwards.
What on earth are they doing to
All
him?
right, quite all right. They're just regressing him. He doesn't feel a thing. He returns to square one.
Oh, I see.
You'll soon get used to it.
You haven't told me what's in there.
In where?
Across the corridor.
Oh, that's Omega, our reject section. Like to see?
No thanks.
Another day. Omega is where your predecessor finished up. I found her fraternizing with a product. Fraternizing is forbidden. It encourages products to explore their origins. But look, here's Edwards now. At least not Edwards, but a perfect blank. Don't you find him rather beautiful? I wonder who it was that he mistook you for. What was the name he used?
I didn't catch.
Now we shall never know. Not that it matters.
Peter Edwards lay in Alpha all that Monday afternoon and more, for to remake a man is no light business. The evening came, and in the dusk Helen, still without news, sat in her apartment all alone and waited for the doorbell for a call. At last, since neither came, she rose, walked over to the telephone, and dialed.
Hello?
Father?
Helen, hello.
Father, listen. You've not seen Peter, have you?
No. Is something wrong?
He's not... Oh, wait. There's someone at the door. It may be him. Hold on. Oh, Mr. Trevelyan.
Piers, please. Is Peter in?
No,
Oh, dear.
he's not back.
Working hard, eh? That's the ticket.
What do you want?
I won't keep you, but when he gets back, he might like to ring me. I'm not sure he has my private number. Here's my card. I'm usually at home. Good night.
Good night. Are you there, Father?
I'm here, yes.
It wasn't Peter. Listen, he went out this morning. He went out after another job.
I see.
He hasn't got back. Father, can you hear me?
I heard you.
Well, say something. Father.
Listen, my darling, listen carefully. I'm not surprised. I think this thing was on the cards. In fact, I'll say more than that. I believe it was high time, Helen.
High time? For whom? You mean for him?
I meant for one and all.
You haven't sacked him, have you?
I have not.
Then what's become of him?
I don't know.
Father, I think he's run out on me. I don't know, he's been so strange, so cold. I don't know what to do.
Sweetheart, I can't talk more just now. I have to go. My car's waiting for me. I must go.
Father...
Helen, I've got to go. Good night now.
The next morning at 10 o'clock exactly, two things occurred. A certain George Davenport, whom you and I might recognize as Peter Edwards, marched out of a small but smart bachelor flat in a very good part of town. There was nothing surprising about this, at least not for George Davenport, who remembered perfectly many details of an agreeable 2-year residence at the same address, and of many other things besides. He hailed a taxi and asked to be driven to the offices of Hamilton Guthrie Associates. Also at 10 o'clock, there stepped into the Guthrie offices the well-known industrialist Sir William Boulding, chairman of Mansfield International. It was Sir William's purpose, after a preliminary chat with Mr. Guthrie, to interview this fellow Davenport for the managing directorship of one of the most important of his group's many subsidiaries.
Sir William will see you right away, Mr. Davenport. Let me take your things.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Is something wrong?
Wrong?
The way you're looking at me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just have this impression that we've met before.
But we have. You came to interview, remember?
Of course, it must be that.
Mr. Davenport.
Ah, Davenport, good of you to come. Allow me to present Sir William. This is...
Good God, Billy!
George, my dear fella.
Well, the name did ring a bell, naturally, but never for 1 minute did I imagine... Oh, well, you've done all right for yourself.
Oh, I might say the same about you. Good heavens, it must be, 10 years?
Oh, more than that.
Is it?
Vienna, 1959.
Excuse me, gentlemen. My presence is superfluous.
1959, is that so? Why, you don't look a day older.
Well, you're wearing rather well yourself.
Very gratifying.
Sir William is a Guthrie man.
I told you, didn't I? A lot of people know George Davenport, and he knows them. Switch on the monitor, Mrs. Briggs. Vision only. Look at them chattering away. What would you say they're doing, Mrs. Briggs?
In what way?
Each one confirms the other's program, reinforces it. Every Guthrie man is part of a self-validating system with no way out. And the really excruciating joke is that he believes it to be real.
Mr. Guthrie, look, Mr. Davenport, he's coming to the door.
Switch off, quick. Forgotten something, Davenport?
Mrs. Briggs, your name's not Helen, is it?
No.
No. I just had the idea it might have been. Silly of me, I beg your pardon.
Helen? That That was it. Who is this Helen, Mrs. Briggs?
I've no idea.
We shall have to watch that one. Tougher than I thought. Mind you, it's not uncommon. Disconnected traces of the past. But they disappear. Environmental pressures see to that.
And so, in spite of this apparent defect, George Davenport, late Peter Edwards, entered the service of Mansfield International as managing director of an important subsidiary. In the meantime, Helen had begun a careful search, for it had occurred to her that she had, in a sense, run out on Peter. Oh, yes, he had been difficult, but she had told herself he had no right to be. There was no future in that. Accordingly, she followed every avenue, except that for some reason, some reluctance, she omitted Piers Trevelyan. After all, hadn't Peter expressly denied the man's complicity? Helen searched and found nothing.
God, where is he? Oh, Father.
Hello, lass. Well?
He's not come back.
And you?
I've done everything I know how. I've searched his papers, his clothes. There's not a letter, not a note, nothing.
Tried the police?
They took particulars. Lots of people disappear, they say. Oh, don't stand there. Come in.
Thanks.
Here, let me take your things. Go in and sit down.
I'll have a whiskey, if I may.
Help yourself.
And you?
All right.
Who did Peter go to see?
A consultant. That's all I know.
Well, that helps. These merchants have to register. The licensing authorities have lists.
I know. I have them here.
Smart girl. You've done a thorough job.
Thanks. Not that you left me much alternative.
You think it was up to me?
He's your employee, or was.
Quite. And therefore free to take another job. He's your lover, and that's rather a different matter. Look, I could have said, here's a new assignment. And he'd have done it, oh yes, with one eye on his old job. Whereas whatever he does now, he meant to do it. And when he comes back to me, to you, I think he'll have a little more, what shall I say, appreciation?
He is coming back?
I can't say.
But you just did say.
All I know is I never like to lose a man.
I see. And what about a woman?
Sorry?
Diana. You lost her. Or did she have to go?
You could put it like that.
Why did she?
Call it incompatibility.
And will she come back? Have you even looked?
Of course. Last time I heard, she was in prison. I don't think she wanted to be found. Do you imagine I don't care? But I could weep blood, and what would be the use?
Father, what am I to do?
Go on looking, lass.
Oh, but where?
I wonder if one of these headhunter laddies has been after him.
These what?
Headhunters. They call themselves consultants. They never advertise. They work by recommendation, contact, espionage, the old boy network. Nothing committed to paper.
Do you know a man called Piers Trevelyan?
Trevelyan?
Wait, I have his card. Here, look.
Piers Trevelyan. Never heard of him. Does he hunt heads?
I don't know what he does, but I intend to find out.
To Helen, it was as if since Peter's vanishing, 6 days had gone. To George Davenport, however, it appeared that he had been in office a whole year or more. The seasons had come and gone. In the files, copies of his correspondence stretched back across the months. He visited his widowed mum in Broadstairs and listened patiently as she rambled on of times gone by and showed him photos of a baby said to be himself. And now, today, beneath his chairman's all-approving eye, George Davenport sat in conference with his executives. He was assured, at ease. He was who he had always been.
And so I think from this point on it should be quite plain sailing.
If I might just come in here.
Yes, of course, Sir William.
The whole scheme is dependent on appointing a research director.
Yes, quite so, but I suggest that that's a matter you and I should talk about just now.
Well, by all means.
Well, gentlemen, if there are no further questions, that'll be all for this morning. Thank you very much.
Very nice. You were a real pleasure to watch, Davenport.
Thank you,
But
Sir
I
William.
remember you always did know how to handle a meeting.
Well, these boys are exceptionally cooperative, you know.
Ah, they're a good lot.
What?
Well, I was going to say I flatter myself, but of course we have Hamilton Guthrie to thank for most of them.
Yes, of course.
Mind you, it was I who retained Guthrie in the first place. Oh, yes. I imagine we'll be approaching him again.
For this research man?
Unless you have a better idea.
No. I'll ring him now.
I get the feeling you don't care for Guthrie.
Care for him? Oh, he's a very capable fellow. I've nothing against him. Get me Hamilton Guthrie Associates, please.
Oh, I take it you're quite happy with us, George.
Of course. This is my niche. I live it, eat it, sleep it.
There's nothing on your mind.
Hello? Hamilton Guthrie? Yeah, I'd like to speak to Mr. Guthrie, please. He's not. When will he be back? Yes, do that. Davenport. George Davenport. Is that Mrs. Briggs? It is. I wonder if you'd have dinner with me sometime. Well, tonight. Oh. Well, another time, perhaps.
Do you think that was wise?
Wise? I don't know.
You're their client. Could be awkward. Besides...
What?
You can do better for yourself than that, I'm sure.
Don't you find Mrs. Briggs rather beautiful?
Beautiful?
Her face is quite exquisite.
Maybe you've not noticed her legs.
Well, yes.
Ah, there you are, then. First things first is what I always say. I'd leave that one alone. Well, what is it?
You asked if anything were on my mind, should there be?
Not as far as I'm concerned.
Then what did you ask?
Oh, I don't know. You just looked as if there might be.
Well, nothing. I assure you. The thing's a perfect total blank.
Oh, come on and get some lunch. We'll talk about your speech.
What speech?
Ah, the Confederation dinner.
Oh, they've bought it then.
Oh, they've done better than that, lad. They're going to put you on the telly.
And over a celebratory bottle of excellent wine, George Davenport's peculiar taste in women was more or less forgotten. He had been greatly honoured, singled out, to speak to that august body, the Confederation of British Manufacturers, and nothing stops the mouth of doubt more surely than success, for a time at any rate. The evening of her father's visit, Helen took her reluctance and Piers Trevelyan's card and went on foot to the address inscribed upon it. This proved to be a slightly seedy place, and Helen realised that this consorted perfectly with Piers. His exquisitely stylish clothes and odour of expensive toilet water concealed, she rather thought, a man who did not often wash. She rang the bell and waited for a rusty door-answering device to speak.
Who is it?
Helen Mackenzie?
Get that. Come on up.
Helen went in. The door swung to, but just before it latched, a man sprang up the steps, prevented it, then quietly entered after her. He watched as Helen climbed the stairs and glimpsed Trevelyan looking down upon her.
What a pleasant surprise.
Is it? A surprise, I mean.
Well, you know, cast your bread upon the waters and it comes back in the form of the most delicious cheesecake. Forgive me. Let's just say I hope to see you again. Come in.
The instant he heard the door, the man below ran lightly up the stairs and waited in the shadow of a landing just above Trevelyan's flat.
Why don't you come right in and take off your coat, make yourself at home?
Thanks, but I prefer to stay here and to stand.
Please yourself. I like you wherever you are.
Where's Peter?
I beg your pardon. Peter, whatever do you mean?
I think you know.
My dear Helen.
Miss Mackenzie to you.
I neither know nor care where Peter is. Why should I?
You sent him to a consultant.
Did he not tell you who? Well, far be it from me to meddle in the confidences.
Unless the information has its price.
Most things have that.
How much?
Oh, when you're ready, darling, I can wait. But why so scrupulous? If you can play the whore with one man, you can do it with another. Given such necessity... Dear, dear. Anyone would take you for a respectable married woman.
So I am.
No, sweetie, I checked. Piers does his homework. Well, some of it. Peter Edwards is not married to you or anyone else.
But I'm married to him.
Remarkable. Doesn't it take two?
You understand nothing.
Oh, yes. I understand. I have you where I want you, dear.
Go to hell!
Arrivederci. Oh, I'm an honest man. You pay, I'll deliver. And much good it'll do you. Who's that?
Mr. Trevelyan?
Yes?
Might I have a word with you, please, sir?
Who are you?
Oh, so sorry. My card.
Jason Investigations.
That's correct. Missing persons a speciality.
I have nothing to say to you.
That's a pity, sir. I have a lot to say to you. Just kindly step inside.
And Piers Trevelyan leaves our story here, at least in his own person. One afternoon about this time, another scene was being played in which young Peter Edwards, now Davenport and not so young, was also the main theme. Its actors, Mrs. Briggs, Hamilton Guthrie, and a tape recorder.
Yes, do that.
Who is it speaking?
Davenport, George Davenport.
Why couldn't you ring off?
Is that Mrs. Briggs?
Yes?
It is. I wonder if you'd have dinner with me sometime.
When?
Suffering Rosie.
Well, tonight.
No. I mean, I can't. Sorry.
Oh, well, another time, perhaps.
No. Well, I don't know.
You see? You actually led him on.
I didn't.
Oh, you mean you put him off? Did I not make your duties clear? Is there no one I can trust?
He brought the subject up. I was taken off my guard.
Excuses! Mrs. Briggs, when I found you, you were, how shall I put it, far advanced on the road to self-destruction. Not only have I brought you back, but I have given you power over men and the comforts of this world. Shall I take them away?
Perhaps you are not quite aware that in the case of Peter Edwards, now known as George Davenport, there is reason to believe that the Guthrie process has not fully taken.
I am aware of it. Moreover, Sir William is aware of it. Brilliant but withdrawn, that's what he says of Davenport, and that's not all. Did you know a woman rang inquiring for him? Oh, yes. This Helen, no doubt. Naturally, I denied all knowledge, and she has nothing to go on. Nevertheless, somebody is looking for him. In the circumstances, I see no alternative but to... Guthrie speaking. Davenport, how very nice to hear your voice. I was just thinking of you. Director of Research. But of course, why not call round and we'll talk about it? No time like the present. Oh, I see. What speech is this? Ah, yes. Aren't you to be televised? My dear fellow, congratulations. Make it tomorrow, then. The earlier the better. 10 is fine. Splendid. Goodbye. Mr. Davenport is preparing his speech for this evening's dinner of the Confederation of British Manufacturers. That should keep him out of mischief till we meet. What a shame, when he has so many excellent qualities.
What do you have in mind?
Oh, I've no option but to put him into Omega.
Kill him?
Kill him, my dear Mrs. Briggs. You take me for a common murderer.
But my predecessor...
She is not dead, oh dear me, no. Well, not in the prosaic sense. Omega induces a state of permanent mental disorder. And after that, what a man says or does is neither here nor there. Sit down, Mrs. Briggs. Sit down a moment. On this occasion, I shall overlook your lapse. All right?
Yes, Mr. Guthrie.
Don't do it again. And now have Trevelyan brought in, will you please? His judgment is no longer to be relied upon.
Yes, Mr. Guthrie. Is he to go to Omega?
No need. No one misses the Trevelyans of this world, so why bother to account for them? Courage, Mrs. Briggs. Remember, Guthrie men are products, high-quality consumer durables. We must expect the odd rejects, and for the sake of our standards, treat them accordingly.
And Hamilton Guthrie tidied up his desk and went off to his club in high good humour, secure in the knowledge that he had, as usual, forestalled all possibilities of disaster. As for Mrs. Briggs, she went off to her flat and sat disquieted in the dark. For some reason which she could not name, the notion of destroying Davenport affected her. It even crossed her mind to warn him. Perhaps this was because alone of all Guthrie's clients, he had seen her as a woman, had called her, accidentally perhaps, by a name almost forgotten. That night, and for the first time in many years, Mrs. Briggs, formerly Diana Mackenzie, thought about her home. Meantime, Helen also sat at home. Her visit to Piers Trevelyan had been her last hope, and she had made a mess of it. The daylight faded out across the city. The lights came up, when suddenly...
Father.
Only me, sorry.
Have you...
where's your television set?
My
television? There. Where does it turn on?
Father, what are you?
Turn it on.
Is this some sort of joke?
Wait.
haven't turned the volume up.
No, leave it. Here it comes.
Who is that man?
Don't you recognize him?
No. Oh, my God. It can't be
But it is.
Peter. Why is he so thin and pale? And who's that man in front of him?
In front?
There's someone standing right in front of him. Isn't there?
That's one way of putting it. The man in front is called George Davenport. Turn up the sound.
What I'm saying is this, that we must foster in ourselves that singleness of purpose, that entire dedication to the job, which in every human endeavour is the only true assurance of success.
Somebody's crying.
That's Peter Edwards.
What?
As a rather remarkable man I know is fond of saying, we have to live it, eat it, sleep it. We have to realize that this world in which we find ourselves, this world of industry, of technology, demands of those who enter it nothing less than the totality of their effort. For it is only by such effort in such a field that man will at last attain the goal of his age-old pursuit. I refer, of course, to the pursuit of happiness.
What's he doing, for God's sake? What's happened to him? Where is he?
Turn that thing off. Sit down. I'll tell you what I know.
Early the very next morning, Helen, all alone, set off across the city for the premises of an important subsidiary of Mansfield International. There, high up on the 17th floor, was the office of the managing director, known to his subordinates as Mr. George Davenport.
Your car is waiting, Mr. Davenport.
Thank you.
And here's the file on the research directorship.
Ah, yes, good go. How am I off for time?
You ought to leave at once. Oh, excuse me, there's someone in my office.
I wish to speak to Mr. Davenport.
I'm afraid Mr. Davenport is not available.
Is he in there?
He is not available. If you wish to... Look, I'm very sorry, but... Ow!
Mrs. Brook...
Peter.
I beg your pardon?
Peter Edwards.
My name is George Davenport.
So they keep saying, but it's not. What's happened to you?
Nothing has happened to me. I don't know who you think you are. I've never seen you in my life.
I'm Helen. Helen Mackenzie. And you're Peter Edwards.
Now stop calling me that. I'm Davenport, George Davenport.
Look, I know that's what you think, but it isn't true. Don't you remember me at all?
Curiously enough.
Go on. Do try. It was only last week, your interview.
Interview? Look, I'm sorry,
It is you.
It's not me. Let go. Leave my office. Get out.
Peter!
Miss Evans, show this lady out. If you have trouble, summon the commissioner.
Please go now.
How long has Mr. Davenport been here?
Oh, quite a time. More than a year, I think.
Oh, God.
Helen hailed a taxi and followed Peter's car. When she arrived at Guthrie's offices, she was just in time to see the lift doors close on Peter's back. Something warned her not to ask for him. She noted down the floors at which the lift had paused and systematically began to search. And as she searched, Hamilton Guthrie and George Davenport began their conference.
An excellent speech, I thought. Absolutely first-rate. Your point on single-mindedness struck me as particularly apt. Just what the nation needs these days. Utter dedication to the job in hand. Live it, eat it, sleep it, eh? What's the trouble, old man? Touch of the morning after, perhaps?
No. No, the speech was all right, I suppose, except...
Go on.
Oh, I don't know. Suddenly, in the middle of it, I thought, this is a lot of rubbish. I felt sick.
Oh, my dear chap, you must be down in the dumps. Allow me to pour you a drink. Whiskey, gin?
Isn't it rather early?
Never too early for the hair of the dog.
Yes, I will have one. A small whiskey, please.
Mrs. Briggs, a small whiskey for our guest. Come in and pour it. Do you mind?
Yes, Mr. Guthrie.
I must tell you, I've just had the most bizarre experience. Ah, Mrs. Briggs.
Yes?
You don't by any chance happen to have a sister, do you?
Mrs. Briggs has no relatives, have you, Mrs. Briggs?
None.
It was most peculiar. A woman calling herself Helen.
Come here! You can't go in there!
Helen! Diana! I thought you were in jail.
I was. I still am.
Who is this lady?
My sister.
But you swore.
When you need a job like I did, you swear to anything.
Suffering cats. No faith, no truth. Here, Davenport, drink this. Steady your nerve. Drink it, man.
Don't touch it.
Davenport, pull yourself together.
Helen. Helen.
Peter?
And you?
I'm Mrs. Briggs, Diana, and you are Peter Edwards.
Edwards. Yes. I'm Peter Edwards.
Damn and blast and flaming perdition! My dear Edwards, you are most fortunate in your friends.
Take me out of this place.
Come on.
And straightway Peter Edwards and Helen Mackenzie went home. As they departed, Mrs. Briggs, Diana, stood watching them, and then after an instant herself limped towards the door.
Going somewhere, Mrs. Briggs?
Yes, out of here.
Where had you in mind?
I thought I might go home.
Home? Are you joking? Home to old man Mackenzie with a record like yours?
Why not?
What leads you to imagine he'll have you?
He's my father.
I suppose someone has to be... Anyway, be seeing you, Mrs. Briggs.
Whatever else, you won't be doing that.
And he didn't. Furthermore, and contrary to what you might expect, Peter Edwards did not immediately resign from Mansfield International. He retained the name of Davenport and his managing directorship, and over the years was able to undo at least a part of Guthrie's handiwork. In later life he returned to Mackenzie Developments Limited as a member of the board. I should add, for the sake of those whose sensibilities have been abraded, that he married Helen in the end. As for Hamilton Guthrie, after the events you've heard about, he underwent a brief time of discouragement, but several mornings later, as he shaved, he eyed his own reflection philosophically and remarked,
"Oh, well, never say die. We have our little setbacks. We also have a sort of indispensability. Mind you, at this point in my career, I might be well advised to set up in some other line. What's the word I want? Diversify."
which is exactly what he did. These days he rents an even larger block than that in which we first discovered him, and he boasts the most extraordinary range of contacts.
Of course I share your concern, my dear Home Secretary. The elimination of irresponsible drug experimentation, associated it most certainly is with the damage to the youthful psyche, must have the support of all right-thinking people.
Mr. Guthrie...
I would even go so far as to assert that...
Mr. Guthrie...
Excuse me just a moment. Yes, who the devil are you?
A humble reporter, Mr. Guthrie.
Ah, the press?
I wonder if you would care to point some moral from your recent experiences. What lesson should we draw?
My dear sir, if it's education you're after, let me refer you to the Guthrie Foundation for...
No. I mean this fellow Edwards. You fail, he gets away, and look at him, he never really raised a finger in his own defence. Don't you find that rather hard to take?
You've heard about it, then? My, you boys are on the ball. But I'm resilient. For every sheep that's found, 4 or 5 million fall over the cliff. No, joking apart, I'll tell you. Edwards had relations.
That's the moral, is it?
That's business. That's what counts. Relations.
I see. Perhaps you'd care to make some final observation.
Final? That's not a word I often use. However, ladies and gentlemen, as you have no doubt noticed, the Hamilton Guthrie organization is still going strong. Stronger, if possible, than ever. If you must have a moral, maybe that's it.
In The Guthrie Process by David Wade, the part of Hamilton Guthrie was played by William Fox, Peter Edwards by Nigel Anthony, Helen Mackenzie by Eve Rain, Sir Alistair Mackenzie by Duncan MacIntyre, and Mrs. Briggs by Eva Stewart. The storyteller was Noel Howlett, and the production was by David H. Godfrey.
I'm really hungry, man. Hungry!
Ah, didn't you get your carry, man?
What? Is that what it was?
Aye! Got it screws, brains!
I thought it was a bit dense, like.
Not a lot of it, though.
I'm hungry, man, I tell you. Me stomach thinks me throat's cut. That's not the only thing, mate.
Shut up.
Joe? Joe? Can't you hear me?
No.
Joe? Can't you hear me?
Leave me alone.
Who is it?
Officer Casey with a tray for the hospital cell.
Say again.
Officer Casey. As if he couldn't see me on the screen. Thank you. It's no good laying down. No good at all. Your lungs will get wet that way. It happened to my grandmother.
Dear Home Secretary.
Oh, if I have to carry heavy trays up to this floor for much longer, I'll have muscles like Tarzan. All the way from the entrance yard, piping hot from the men's kitchens, through 3 sets of electronic doors, open, shut, up 4 flights with me arms dropping off, along the catwalks and the women shouting, "What you got hidden under that cloth, miss?" I tell you, if they could see the food I'm bringing you, I'd be mugged for certain, and all this disappeared down the gobs before the bell could be sounded and the dogs fetched in. Now, look at what I brought you today.
Dear Home Secretary.
Homemade cream of vegetable soup, still steaming, so you can get the full aroma right to your nostrils. Real vegetables, mind. No potato peelings here.
Further to my communication of last week.
None of the usual kitchen riff-raff at work on this, I can promise you.
I wish you to be aware.
To follow, we have lightly poached salmon with fluffy mash and petted pois done in mint.
That I am now...
And to finish, there's ice cream the colour of buttercups.
On a hunger strike.
How could you resist?
To the death.
I'm hungry myself now, I'll tell you. My belly's roaring like a tombola. Not that I've the hope of a bite for hours yet. No rest for the wicked. Come on, out of that bed now. Come on, up. Come on. You don't want me to fetch the heavy mob, do you? I see. Are you getting out of that bed, or am I going to fetch the chief to you? You'll get me into trouble. That's what you want to do, isn't it? All right, I'm used to your tricks, madam. Look at this weather. For the middle of June. Good job I'm not wasting me money on a holiday this year. I could do with one, mind.
Wait till I get hold of you, you wazzer. Shut your gob, you're dead, man.
With him at home all day, the likelihood of a bit of pleasure's long gone.
Yo!
I've barely had a word, let alone a smile, for many a long month. Still, you cannot blame him. As his mother says, what sort of wife is it goes out the house at 6:30 of a morning and may not be seen again till nearly bedtime? I tell me husband I spend all me time with bandits. I don't confess it's the one-armed variety in the officers' social. Spending me time and money with people who'll sympathise with me aching feet. After all, why should I rush home to the duster and the vacuum cleaner? Certainly not to the bed. Not these days, with him a passive resistor and me too tired to get me stockings off and the earplugs in before I'm out like a light.
I'm going to spatter your brains all over the stick in recess. Yeah.
Enough is enough. Who's on duty over there? The noise those men make. You girls don't know how lucky you are tucked away in this little unit, I can tell you. It's bedlam across there. There's too many of 'em. Over 1,000 now. Where do they keep coming from? It makes me shudder to think. It's the youth gone mad. Oh, this soup is losing its heat. And after all my effort, what a waste. It'll go with the rest of the slop. Shipped away to the pigs. Decent food like this when there are people starving. Ah, well. I'll content myself with the fact that in a day or two, baby food is all you'll be offered me, girl. You're refusing to eat, then? Are you going to answer me? I'm ignored. What happened to the high spirits of yesterday? Soon gone. Depressed, I expect. Not surprising the way you treat yourself. Will you be wanting your exercise today? In this weather? You usually do. You've always been one for your exercise, I know that. I've had to suffer your tongue often enough. 1 hour, miss. 1 hour, that's the rule. Oh, not that you demean yourself to a miss, not you. Do you think you'll want your exercise, No? Well, please yourself. We don't have the staff free anyway. I don't know why I mentioned it. So many off sick. Well, there's no incentive to clock on like in the old days of easy overtime. Now it's lock in, and nothing extra in your purse at the end of the week. The job has lost its sparkle. There's no variety now. I'd go sick myself, but what would I do with me time? Here. What's this? Another petition. He doesn't want to hear from you. He's a very busy man. Dear Home Secretary, further to my communication of last week, I wish you to be aware that I am now on a hunger strike to the death. I have been in this condemned tomb for 14 years, and I think it high time I was transferred somewhere better. That sort of language will do you no good at the Home Office. I've warned you before, they don't appreciate emotion at Queen Anne's Gate. Shall I change it for you? No? Well, please yourself.
There is a clothes unit at Cookham Wood, where I've heard there's a snooker table and some gardens. I think I deserve the right to a change.
I intend to continue my hunger strike until I am moved or I die, whichever is the sooner. Signed. Shouldn't that be soonest? Well, never mind. You've made it plain enough. It's overrated, Cookham Wood, you know. You won't find those southern officers as sympathetic as us up here. I've met a few of them. Oh, very tough characters. Most of them are unmarried. A garden isn't everything, as you'll find out. Do you want to rewrite this? Be a bit more flexible. No? All right. They won't pay any attention to it anyway. They never do, as well you should know after 14 years. You'd probably have been transferred long ago, you know, if it hadn't been for your attitude. That and the fact that you're Category A. 14 years, where does the time go? I didn't intend to stay more than a year or two at most. If I'd known I'd be stuck here with your pranks and moods, I'd have topped myself straight off. You're refusing to eat, then? Is that it? Are you going to answer me? I could fetch the chief to you. How would you like that, eh? Poking and prodding. To just make matters worse. I know your tricks. I'm the one who'll take the blame. I'm the one who'll carry the can. Well, I can't hang around here any longer. I've got 33 items of incoming mail to censor by 1 o'clock. I haven't got all day talking to you.
Joe? Joe? Can't you hear me? Come over here. Come on.
Ah, Luke. Look at the moon on the sea.
Yeah. And all those stars, isn't it beautiful? I love the moon and the stars, don't you?
Yes.
You see that group there? Like a big kite shape? That's Orion.
Kite shape?
And you see those 3 bright stars there in a row?
Yeah, I think so.
That's his belt.
Belt on a kite?
No, you idiot. He's a great warrior. What am I going to do with you, huh?
No, stop.
Hey, I'm going to England for a week or 2.
England? Why?
There's people I have to see. You could get a holiday from the farm and come with me. Show me round.
My uncle's getting suspicious.
What about me?
He thinks I'm still a virgin.
He hates Fenians, that's the truth.
He hardly knows you.
Tell him you're visiting your mum in Leeds.
Check up. Anyway, there's work to do.
You're entitled to a holiday, aren't you?
I'm cold. Give me a cuddle.
I hate it in the town, don't you? All the noise. I like to come here where it's peaceful. Hey, look! Did you see that?
Where?
That was a shooting star. Did you see it? It just shot right across the sky and died.
Oh.
Is that lucky or not? It's one or the other, but I can't remember which. My sister's husband, Michael, is dead. Did I tell you? Oh, I'm starving, hungry. I could eat a horse. Better still a pig. A great big juicy chop. With buttered potatoes and sweet corn. Gravy. Joe?
Hey, I'm feeling me age lately. Gone are the days I could sprint from bottom to top before you could say smouldering mattress. Hey, look what I've brought for you today. Quiche with spinach and cream cheese and broccoli. Now, when did you last see that, eh? Look, all green and bushy. What are you doing hidden under those blankets? You know it's an offence not to have part of your anatomy showing at all times in the presence of an officer. Look, passion cake. I could eat it myself. Endeavour, Mrs. Casey, endeavour to get this infernal woman to eat. Infernal. That's the sort of grammar school language Chief likes to throw around in her pathetic attempt to keep up with the inmates. Endeavour to get this infernal woman to eat. That's my brief. It's not what I joined for, but here I am. Nursemaid and servant so she can look good on the annual report. Get an extra pip on her shoulder. Use any means possible, Mrs. Casey, short of force. Oh, I tell you, if force were permissible, that chief would be up here and a tube rammed down your throat before you could say civil liberties. Your infernal little protest would be over. Nah, we don't do that to people these days. It's your lawful right to starve yourself to death. You'd be finished forever, and who'd miss you? Ask yourself that. Who's gonna miss you? Have a drop of this nice soup. Come on, you might as well. Fresh tomato soup with bits of orange floating in it. Endeavour, Mrs. Casey. I am. Come on, smell that, Delicious, tangy. Ah! Careful! You could have scalded me. Oh, here. What's this? Another petition? Do you think the Home Secretary has nothing better to do than read about you 2 days in a row?
Dear Governor.
You're writing to the Governor?
I want to complain
about Junior Officer Casey. She is trying to drive me mad by talking me to death. I demand the right to die in peace. Did you have to say that? Junior? I know I'm a junior. I never took the exams, that's why. Oh, Chief will love this. On top of everything else, she'll love this. Only this morning she noticed a button half off. Not even missing, half off. When do I get time to sew? I'm not a single woman like Chief, no. But there she is with a spindly finger jabbing away at me button as though I was an infant. What is this, Mrs. Casey? Not what we expect of our more experienced staff, is it? No, Mrs. Casey. Secure that button at once, please, or else. Look, I've got domestic responsibilities, but who cares? Our Chief can go off to the Canary Islands with a girlfriend, whom she calls her niece, coming back tanned and telling me about a button dangling when I've hardly had time to load the Hoover-matic. There's no justice. I never intended to stay. That was the trouble. I never bothered with promotion. A woman's place is in the home, my husband said. Just a year or two, I thought. Getting a bit of extra cash, a few luxuries. The lads' piano lessons? Where's it got us?
Hey, Robbo! Robbo!
If I'd known how things would turn out, I could have been a senior officer by now. Principal, even. It could have been me sitting in an office with a monster plant, making phone calls about staff shortages and drinking coffee from china cups. And where are they when you want them? In the Canary Islands.
Get to your window, man!
Do you want to help people? The advert said. I spent the first 6 weeks learning judo. As for the piano, well, that hasn't been touched since Andrew married Fergie and the lad left for Berkshire and a job in new technology.
Away, you lazy son!
You can't complain, mind. He's doing well. We brought him up well enough.
Get to your window, man!
A postcard now and again would be nice.
Hey, you bastard, you're gonna die!
Hey, look out here! They're exercising that mass murderer in the men's yard. He can't be more than 5 feet. You'd hardly believe it, would you? Come on, look. Come on. Smart spectacles and all. No, you wouldn't think he was capable.
Is that him?
That's the one.
He looks like nothing.
They say in the social club he's tried to commit suicide twice since he's been here. They have him on a 24-hour watch.
Why don't they let him die?
Oh, he's not getting out of it that easy. Ah, they'll make him suffer, the men, if they get their hands on him. He wouldn't last long out of solitary confinement.
Hey, you bastard, you're gonna die! Yeah, we're gonna get you!
What are their officers doing over there? They're off sick, most of them, I shouldn't wonder. Listen to the noise.
Close the window.
It's him they're shouting at. He's dropped his head, and well he might. He knows what's coming to him. That's why he's tried to top himself.
Shut the window, for God's sake.
Oh, you're talking to me again, then?
Yes. You're not important enough to waste dumb insolence on. I suppose that's why they keep sending you up here.
Oh, thank you. After all I've done for you. Look, do you expect me to hand this complaint form in? This could get me the sack, this sort of thing. Well, not that you'd care. You've had nothing but contempt from the start.
It's not personal. I've got to let the powers that be know I'm on my feet and taking no nonsense, otherwise I think they're winning. A complaint a day keeps madness at bay.
You could have chosen something else to complain about. The men across the way...
Perhaps tomorrow if I'm strong enough.
Strong enough? It's only been a few days. Monks last longer. The driver's all mad, those men. You could have complained about them.
They scream like animals at night. What do they do to each other?
Doesn't bear talking about. Not in decent conversation. Disease is rife over there. Too many of them, I've told you. Piled in like rats. The Officers' Association is considering action to protect the staff. They may wear special clothing on duty.
What about us?
Oh, but you're in no danger, are you? These walls are 3 feet thick.
They spit in the food.
They never do.
Urinate in the stew buckets.
Nonsense.
You can see it foaming.
It's the curry powder, that's all. It has that effect.
I've heard them shouting about it. Hey, bitches, watch out for your dinners.
Their officers would never allow it.
What do they care? They'd probably join in. It's not natural to have those men preparing our food.
Well, it's not natural to be in prison, is it? You should have thought about these things in the first place.
Disease-ridden men contaminating our food.
But complain to the governor, I've told you. I've always been on your side, haven't I? I've looked after you.
How can I complain?
Well, you could rewrite this form. They'd know you were on your toes, and you wouldn't have to mention me, would you?
I'm on a hunger strike to the death. How can I complain about food?
You intend to go through with this, then?
Yes.
You want me to hand this in?
Yes. As I said, it's nothing personal.
You bastard. You'll lose a week's remission for this soup stain. I'll see to that.
What's a week out of forever when I'm prepared to die?
Well, you can serve it in hell, then. I hope you rot there.
I'm rotting here. Where's the difference? And you're not allowed to smoke on duty. You know that. I'll report you next time.
Joe? Joe? It's been days. I'm a desperate man.
That's just too bad.
I'm coming to get you.
No, we're here.
I'm leaving soon. I won't see you unless you come with me.
I've got work to do.
Only for a holiday.
There are rumours about you in town.
Oh, yeah, that I'm insane with love for you, huh?
That you're running with the Provos.
Do I look suicidal?
I know how you feel about things.
Don't you trust me?
Of course I do.
Well, come away with me, then. Look, you've straw in your hair.
Straw?
They'll think you took a tumble.
Stop it, stop.
Look, we could be alone, together, just you and me.
I don't know.
My cousin Deirdre's boyfriend, Frank, is dead. Did I tell you? I'm starving. I could eat fresh crab.
Fresh crab.
And minted peas and potato chips. Thick cut and sizzling.
You'll have to go.
In the middle of dinner, how come we never get to the pudding? Gooseberry crumble and whipped cream.
No, stop it.
With brandy sauce and maple syrup.
Go away!
Come with me then. Promise? Promise?
Do you need to sprawl yourself all over the floor like a teenager? Come on, move your legs.
You can take that back to the kitchens. I ate out today. I had crab and peas and... What are you doing?
Taking the bedding.
Why?
You're on punishment.
Since when? Put my plant back. I have a right to flowers.
Your only right is to a priest.
You can't do this.
Home Secretary's orders. Hunger striking is now a self-inflicted wound, punishable by loss of all existing privileges. Flowers is a privilege.
When did this happen?
Came through this morning in the green bag.
I want to see the order.
Oh, book the chief, book the governor. I don't make the rules.
What are you doing with your radio?
Confiscated.
The batteries are gone.
Well, you'll not miss it then.
I want to see the governor. You can't put a hunger striker on punishment. It's unheard of.
Well, your choice. Eat and get your radio back. If you eat, you might get moved to Cookham Wood. If you don't, you certainly won't. I'm taking this fancy reading material. George Orwell and Iris Murdoch. All you'll be allowed from now on is the Bible. Pay attention to the section on retribution and damnation.
Well, that's nice, isn't it? What did I do all of a sudden?
I've been on the carpet thanks to you. Too friendly for me own good. I'm to remember I'm a professional and carry out my duties accordingly. Well, here I am, remembering. 14 years I've served, and I'm treated like a trainee, like a beginner. These curtains will have to go.
You can't. I'll be exposed.
Curtains are a privilege.
The men will see in at night.
Oh, why should they want to look at you?
This is a designated hospital cell. It requires curtains.
Not now. Now it's a punishment cell. No flowers, no curtains, all right?
I'll petition Europe.
Oh, you'll be dead before you hear from that lot. Peggy McGrath is still waiting and she's been free 5 years.
I've had enough of this. I want a petition form. I'm writing to Amnesty International. I have a right to die in humane circumstances.
No, you don't. You don't have any rights. Only what we allow you. So behave yourself or you'll get even less. On your feet now. Body search.
I haven't been anywhere.
A rule is a rule. Open wide. You could do with a dentist.
It's malnutrition. My teeth are crumbling.
There's a tray of decent food there. Eat it. It won't come again. Come on now. All off. Every stitch.
The chief is behind this. I know it.
Come on. Get on with it.
And you're colluding to give me a hard time. Just when I'm feeling weak and unable to fight back. I want to petition Parliament.
Knickers too, please.
You're sick, you people. Perverts.
Oh, do you think I want to look at your body?
I'll display myself naked at the window. I'll stand naked with my tits pressed against the glass. What about that?
Lewdness and sexual provocation are signs of psychiatric illness. Curtains or no curtains. You'd be shipped to Broadmoor without limit of time. There'd be no gardens and snooker tables for you there. You'd be pumped full of drugs 3 times a day and forced to wear a frock. See how you'd like that? can't sing, you'd have had a career in the opera. What is it? Is this one of your tricks again? If you're playing about it... I'll get the doctor.
No. No. I don't want him in here. I'm all right, just a bit of stitch.
Oh, I don't know why I do this job. I thrill a bloody minute. If it's not slimy suicides with bulging eyes, it's mock heart attacks.
Get me a glass of water, Casey.
Cramps, I suppose, from the empty belly. Here. Why do you run your system down like this? You'll do yourself a damage one of these days. I remember when they brought you here from Risley. You were like a scared rabbit. Big eyes and a white little face. Thin thing you were, shaking and shivering. A year on remand with the light never off, night or day. No shoes, you said, and your food slid across the floor to you like an animal. I remember that. I'd never heard such a story before. You thought you'd come to paradise when you came here. Yeah, I felt sorry for you then. I was new to the job. Well, I think the weather's picking up a bit.
It always feels cold in here.
It's the walls.
What's this? This on the food tray.
It's a peach. What does it look like?
A peach? I'd forgotten. It doesn't look real, does it?
Well, don't spoil it. The brew's easy.
It smells sweet.
Eat it. Don't waste it.
You eat it.
Well, I can eat a peach whenever I like.
Are they common now, then?
At home, we have a bowl filled with peaches. Sometimes they go off before we can eat them all. There's been a glut this year.
How can you do this? Offer a peach when you know I can't eat it. And if I could eat it, you wouldn't offer it. How can you give me this with one hand and take everything away with the other? I don't understand you.
I don't make the rules, do I? It's me job. I don't have the choice.
You must be some kind of sadist.
Do you think I like this? Do you think I don't find this demoralizing?
Something twisted in your personality.
It's not what I wanted to do with me life. I expected my husband to keep me. Like any other woman, how else was I meant to live? I didn't expect to be approaching old age as the breadwinner. It's not acceptable around these parts. A woman earning a man's wage. Me husband feels humiliated. People taunt. Wife give you pocket money. What's it like being a kept man? Wish it was me. Wish it was me. And they do. They really do. Not like during the strikes when somebody daubed paint all over me door. State lackey, fascist pig. No, they'd like the job now. Couldn't wait to get the uniform on. Let us be fascist pigs too. Just give us the wage, a wage that should be going to a man's wage.
This peach is beautiful.
If I could have it, take it. I'd be glad to give it if I had a choice.
Choice, so choice. Can it taste as sweet as it smells?
Sometimes when I'm standing on the landing out there, I want to scream. I want to scream so badly I shake. But then I think, what would happen? No more job. No more Junior Officer Casey. Just another woman screaming. How would Chief view that, eh? Oh, not acceptable behaviour for one of our more experienced officers, Mrs. Casey. You should know by now that the answer lies in a gin bottle in the officers' mess, queuing up for a go on the fruit machines.
This fragrance. I can almost breathe it right in.
Yes, I'd like to scream, but it's not appropriate. All the feelings are for you. You can shout and rage all you want, and that's expected. But what about me? I've never done anything wrong in my life. I never stole anything. I've never hurt anybody. Why do I have to suffer?
I can't bear this much longer.
I need the money at the end of the month, that's why. Because I've got a husband who'll probably never work again. Because my son has gone 300 miles to the nearest job, that's why. Because I'm lonely and tired and miserable. And I don't know what else to do.
I want it.
Joe? Joe? Come on.
What took ya? It was a queue.
Come on, your train's ready. Hurry up.
I'll miss you.
We'll be together again soon. Now, say hello to your mum. Go on now, or it'll be gone.
Where's your bag?
Oh, don't worry.
You must have left it in the buffet.
I'll get it in a minute.
It might be stolen.
Hurry up now.
Liam, why
They've closed all the doors, Joe. Now, go on. Say hello to your mum for me.
Hello, loneliness. I'm gonna cry. Rest. Hello, emptiness. I think I'm about to die. Can't find my love by the eye.
Who's there?
Officer Casey with mail for the hospital cell.
Bye, love. Bye, happiness. Hello. Hey! Dance with me! I love this one. Come
Get
on.
off, you daft bugger, and turn that thing down. It's illegal without an earplug, you know
Oh,
that.
how can you be so mean? It's my birthday! And soon I shall be out of this miserable mausoleum.
Here, happy birthday.
All these for me. Who from?
Look and see, why don't you?
I'm almost a real person again. I can't tell you how unbearable the last weeks have been. Like a nightmare. Seeing that orange glow from the floodlights, thinking about death. I feel restored now, thank God. Oh, it's from the women on the unit. A handmade card, how nice. Where are you going?
Well, I'm busy. I've got duties to attend to.
You're trembling.
Am I? It's probably for want of a cigarette. It's been a hard morning.
Smoke one here.
No.
Go on. I won't tell. You can give me one. It's my birthday. Go on. I'd love one.
You'd have me shot you. Here.
Thanks, Casey. You're a pal.
Mrs. Casey to you.
I had a terrible trauma last night. I was lying on the bed, thinking about what it was going to feel like to be 38. When I suddenly realised I was 39. I'd aged 1 year and 10 seconds. Do you think I'm losing me marbles? Has me grip slipped? I can't count. Never mind. I content myself with the fact that at Cookham I shall be able to walk among flowers and watch butterflies. If there are any left to watch. They say it's warmer in the south. Do you think that's true?
It's what they say.
This is from Doreen. Doreen Smith.
Who?
You remember Doreen. 1979. Brilliant tap dancer. Owns a string of hotels across Malta.
Oh, aye. Oh, it's an expensive card.
Yeah.
She'll have had a bit stashed away then.
Fancy Doreen still remembering. It was a good year, 79.
Was that a royal wedding year?
The wing was full of business frauds and cocaine manufacturers with doctorates. Talk was of the Guardian, crossword and revolution.
Most of them liked to knit, I remember. Lace making and the like. He was an eye-opener to me about that type. The more smart and posh they are, the more relaxed, as though they're used to such unnatural living. It's odd, that.
It's called the Rodin factor.
The women who've always had the greatest problem adjusting are the scraggy rowdies shipped up from London and thinking they own the place, treating us like peasants. Truth is, they yelp like drowning pups without the Mogadon, that lot. No staying power at all.
Yeah, the underclass is not what it was.
Margaret Thatcher. Well, 1979. That was the year she swept to power.
Yeah. Maybe it wasn't such a hot year.
No. 76 was the hot year. We couldn't even water the vegetables. 79 was Thatcher, and the royal wedding was 81. It was a grand occasion. Street parties and that. There was a lot of money around then. Big redundancies. It was the same year the steelworks closed. The last year me husband worked. We danced in the streets for Charles and Di. Ah, they made a lovely couple. I've still got the commemorative teacups.
What year was the Jubilee?
Queen's Jubilee? 1977, June.
I organised a concert.
I had to work. Same year Elvis died. In the August he died. It had a big effect on the prison.
I remember.
I courted me husband to blue suede shoes. I was a fan.
Elvis Presley? You were not.
I was. I had little pink socks with guitars on the side.
You didn't.
And skirts with hoops in the hem that shot up when I bent over. I danced every Friday and Saturday at the Locarno, Newcastle. Me husband was the best bopper in the northeast. He was. He could stop the floor with his spins and dips, and his hair fell over his eyes and flicked back, throwing sweat all over the crowd. The women loved him, of course, in his Italian suits. Mind you, I was no mean mover myself.
I preferred Joan Baez and Dylan. Songs of conscience and protest.
You would do. In need of a good wash, that lot.
Not as greasy as Elvis.
He wasn't greasy. It was lovely.
I've forgotten what fun you used to be.
Was I?
How you chased us round the landings, playing tag at bedtime.
Did I?
That was when the old chief was here.
Aye. They were friendly at times, it's true.
How do you think Poodlehead would react?
Poodlehead? Shh! The walls have ears.
Poodlehead has ears, sticking out and flapping at the slightest hint of unrest.
Aye, we shouldn't be unkind to Chief. Though I've always thought that much hairspray is unnecessary in these conditions. Mind, she's been quite decent lately.
Probably got a new niece.
Aye.
C'est la vie. Nothing from my mother, I suppose.
Perhaps it's in the post.
It'll been in the post a long time. Oh, it's from you.
I had to get permission.
Sailing ships. Gosh, thanks.
Well, there's not much choice in the prison store.
It's perfect. Thanks, Casey. I'm really pleased.
Yeah, well...
Oh, don't look so worried. I'm delighted. You couldn't have chosen better, honestly. I used to dream about the sea and the mountains. The sun always shone and the sky was always blue. The air was fresh and the gulls swooping. And then I woke up. For years it was like that, half sleeping, dreaming, vivid dreams. Waking up and not believing I was really here. This cell has driven me mad for weeks. I can't wait to get out. When I get my transfer, I'll be able to see flowers and grass. I might even get a job outdoors. I don't suppose they'll let me go out right away, but still I'll be able to see it from the windows, won't I? What's this? Printed letter. It looks official.
It come this morning in the green bag.
A birthday message from the Queen, do you think?
I would have...
The Secretary of State requests you to inform the prisoner, etc., that in the public interest, a transfer cannot be considered at this time. Is that it? Not even a please apply in a year. Nothing. What does it mean, in the public interest? Did you know about this all the time you've been standing here? Did you?
You were in such a good mood.
A good mood? Is that all you care about, my mood? Well, it's not so good now, I can tell you. I feel sick.
There was that atrocity last weekend. I expect the... Look, I'm sure if you...
There's a shocking atrocity every weekend. I'm not a political prisoner, remember? No, not until I want to be decategorised or moved or apply for parole, then suddenly I'm affected by the sensitive situation or the public interest. I'm tired of being patient. It's got me nowhere. I wish I'd blown up the whole bloody world.
That won't do you any good.
I'll never get out of here. Never. I look out of my window. What do I see? Another prison. I can't stand it any longer.
I'm very sorry, Joe. I really am.
I'll never get out of here. Never.
Calm down now. Stop it. Stop. You do no good, Joe. Stop it. Joe. Come on now. Calm down now. Calm down, Joe. Calm down now. Joe. Calm down. Calm down. Stop it, Joe. Stop it, Joe. Stop it now. Calm down now. There. Now then, I'm going to bring the doctor. He'll give you something to calm you down.
There's nothing to fear. You'd be surprised where our sympathies lie. Tell me all about it.
No, I can't. There's nothing to
You
tell.
can trust me. Cigarette?
No.
Tell me about the bag.
Bag?
Hold-all, perhaps. A hold-all, was it?
Hold on.
Blue.
Blue?
Witnesses seem to think it was blue. What happened then?
When?
You don't remember? Perhaps you're confused. Let me remind you, you placed the blue hold-all in the station buffet.
No.
There were nitroglycerine traces under your fingernails. How did those get there, do you think?
I don't know.
Relax.
I haven't slept.
We're all on your side. Tell me, why did you run away?
I didn't.
You went to Leeds.
To visit my mother.
But you came straight back.
Yes.
Why was that?
Liam.
Liam?
I needed to see him.
Why?
I was scared.
What of?
I needed to see him.
He's dead.
Dead?
Terrible tragedy. So young.
No, it's not true.
Yes.
He's not dead.
Ask his wife.
Wife?
Pretty little thing. Oh, she's been very cooperative. Everything is going to be all right. There's nothing for you to worry about, nothing at all. You can trust me, you know that, don't you? Let's get your statement signed and you can have a nice long sleep.
I didn't do anything.
Of course you didn't. Soon be sorted out. Don't worry. You can sleep now. Sleep.
Your hair could do with a comb through it. I hope you're not going to let yourself go. We don't want to have to walk you to the bath once a week like a zombie, do we? I brought you some soup. You're depressed, I expect. Well, we all get depressed. You just have to face it. You can't give in. Wouldn't do, would it?
My legs won't work.
The doctor says it's hysterical, that's all. Do you want some soup? It's warm. You must keep your strength up.
Why?
I don't know. To get better. Life goes on.
What life?
I don't know what life. It's yours, not mine. Look at the state of this room.
I'll never walk on sand again. Or smell the sea.
They've had enough of you downstairs. They were saying at the staff meeting something'll have to be done with you. You've had too much your own way lately.
Death stalks those who fear it most.
You read too much. A little knowledge is a dangerous thing.
It would have been better to have destroyed me quickly. In a humane fashion. A hypodermic needle or a blow to the back of the neck. You can only hang on to reason for just so long. Painting by numbers, Spanish by correspondence, basket weaving.
It's time you were out of this bed.
Every tattered book in the library. But who will I try my Spanish on? Who will admire me baskets?
It's my job to get you up and on your feet and back to work.
How are you going to do that?
I don't know. Threaten you, I suppose.
Which way does my window face? Is it north?
The doctor says you're malingering.
I've never seen the stars from here. Nor the moon.
You're just malingering, the doctor says. Oh, the good news is you won't have to scrub the landings for a bit. You can go to the workroom and sew buttons on the men's overalls while you get better.
You think I've been ill, then?
There must be moon and stars. They're everywhere.
There was an owl on the wire last night. I saw it.
Oh, you were out of bed then?
Silhouetted by the searchlight. The shadow of an owl perched, waiting.
How do you know it was an owl?
It stayed all night till dawn, and it flew off. I don't sleep now. I doze and drift. You have to be able to trust to sleep. Trust that you're going to wake up. That it'll be all right when you do. I used to be able to escape into memories of the past. Lovers. And journeys. And food and drink. The smell of new mown hay. I could depend on it. I could turn it on like a movie, complete with taste and smell and sensation, but no, I can't do it. I simply can't do it anymore. I close my eyes and I can only see shadows. Or worse, nothing. Nothing at all. Great God, this is an awful place.
Well, you can hardly expect it to be pleasant.
It's what Captain Scott said on his way back from the South Pole. The endless monotony of trudging through the same bleak landscape with no reward at the end.
You are a misery guts today.
There was a black abortionist here some years ago who claimed to be able to astral project. But I didn't pay her any heed at the time. Tell you the truth, I thought she was a nutter. I was young and foolish. And now there's no way out.
You used to be fearless.
Not fearless. Defiant. At night I cried.
I don't agree with abortion. I think it's morally wrong. I lost 3 babies I couldn't hold on to. Me womb wasn't strong enough. Couldn't carry them. It makes a woman feel sad. It must always feel like that, even if you choose it.
Hold my hand.
Don't be daft.
I've forgotten what people feel like. Warm, I suppose.
At least I have a son. I expect he'll come home one day with his pockets full of money and a wife with a southern accent and a liking for barbecues, and then he'll go away again. Of course, there's no life here now, is there? No life at all.
Hold my hand.
It's against the rules.
Is it? I didn't know.
Would you like a cigarette?
No.
I'll tell Chief I can do nothing with you again, shall I?
Tell her I've gone to the South Pole. She's welcome to join me, but it won't be like the Canary Islands. She'll have to bring her warmest woolies. From the moment I bit into that peach, I knew it was all over.
They'd have let you die. It's policy now.
There would have been some status in that. But I didn't have the courage. Do you know how it tasted, that peach? It tasted sweet. It was the sweetest taste I can ever remember.
You said it was rotten.
Did I? Perhaps it was, then.
It was the best I had in the shop. The biggest and the juiciest. I chose it myself.
I didn't have the nerve to see it through. What is it people have? Divine determination. I didn't have that. I'm only ordinary, you see. Not different after all. Just ordinary. 5'3", 52 kilograms. Scared. What I represent is something else. Some decaying token of unmentionable atrocities in the early 70s. Nobody can quite remember which one since there have been so many. It was getting a bit too close to home. Close to us. Threatening us. The slaughter of the innocent.
I've never understood how you could live with yourself all this time. Arrogant and cocky. People outside used to ask me what you were like. We're not supposed to talk about those things, but there was a time I couldn't go into a pub without half a dozen people asking me about you. What were you really like? My husband said he'd hang you himself if he had the chance. He used to like to say it. Describe how he'd string you up with his bare hands. He doesn't know how I can do this job. Nobody does. I'll forget about it until I have to touch you. Then I feel sick inside. Well, are you going to have some of this soup then? Will you be getting up at all today? I see. I'll tell Chief then.
Joe. Joe. Where have you been? I've missed you. Come on, you great lump. Pay attention. You've freckles on your nose. They suit you. Hey, when are you leaving for your mum's? I'll come with you, see you off. Ooh, you've caught the sun a bit. I've been swimming. The sea is filthy. It's no pleasure. Why don't they clean it up? One day we'll get what we want, won't we? Eh? We'll get our justice. Oh, you're so beautiful. I do love you. Shall we be married, do you think? Huh? Shall we have lots of children? Well, maybe 3 or 4, eh? Don't forget me, will ya?